Mrs. Peak, could you call us back from closed session, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. The council has reconvened from closed session, during which it discussed agenda items 1 and 2 of the closed session special meeting agenda. Item number 1, potential litigation with respect to the San Marcos Creek District Infrastructure Project under Government Code Section 54956.9 sub D sub 4. City Council discussed the matter and received a status report. No reportable action was taken. On item number 2, potential litigation relating to a SEGRE claim on SDG&E franchise fees under Government Code Section 54956.9 sub E sub 3. The City Council discussed the matter and provided direction to the city attorney concerning the matter. And that it concludes the closed session report.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Peak. With that, the special meeting is adjourned, and we will start our regular meeting shortly. Okay, welcome everyone to the San Marcos City Council meeting for June 20, oh my goodness. What is the date today? The 27th. Sorry, June 27th, 2023. If you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we do have an invocation this evening, Bill March from North Coast Church.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Madam Deputy Mayor and Honorable Council and all the city clerks. Everyone here, thank you for inviting me to give the invocation tonight. I invite all of us to join for a moment of prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening to give you thanks for our city leaders. Thank you for giving them the heart to serve the city of San Marcos through their leadership. And Lord, I pray now that you would give them great wisdom and clear understanding as they work through and discuss the agenda items before them this evening, and that the decisions they make would be for the good of this city. Father, thank you for all of our city staff and for those who work and endeavor to complete each day the work that they've set out to do. Lord, I ask now that you'd bless our city council members as they work together this evening in writing their chapter on the 60-year legacy of the city of San Marcos. Thank you, Father, for hearing this prayer that I pray to you now through your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Could we please have the roll call, Mr. Skullick?
Yep. Councilmember Musgrove? Present. Councilmember Nunez?
Present.
Councilmember Sanella?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Jenkins?
Here.
And Mayor Jones?
Here. Okay, moving on to proclamations and presentations. We have Innovate 78 and San Diego North EDC presentation. Who's going to be doing that? Oh, there we are.
Well, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. It's great to be back in front of you this evening to present on Innovate 78. My name is Jenny Wendell. I'm the founder and CEO of JPW Communications. We are a full-service marketing and communications firm located here along the Innovate 78 corridor, serving local government agencies across the state of California. Before I get into my presentation, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for trusting some very important work with the city of San Marcos at our firm. We've had the privilege of serving San Marcos since our inception in 2015, working on your general communications contract, Very recently, the San Marcos and City, the San Marcos School District and City of San Marcos joint initiative on the mental health campaign, Let's Face It Together, which we just learned today has won 2 international awards for that work, so congratulations there. More to come on that. And last but certainly not least, Innovate 78. We, along with the San Diego North EDC, have been working on the marketing portion of this project, and I'll be reporting out to you on that initiative tonight, and then I'll turn things over to Eric Bruvald from San Diego North EDC to talk about the programmatic efforts of that initiative. So, without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. So one of our main objectives with the marketing outreach effort is to get the word out about Innovate 78 and the differentiators of what's happening along the corridor. And one way we do that is through our quarterly industry reports. You see a screenshot of that here tonight. And what we've done differently this year, which seems to be working quite well, is to create thematic goals for each quarter so that we're able to aggregate data, share more expansive stories about what's happening in those sectors along the corridor. So in Q1, which you see on the screen now, we featured manufacturing businesses like Rochambeau, 44 Pro Gloves, Hunter Industries, among some other companies that are here in San Marcos. We've really tried to make these reports engaging, both showcasing the data as well as the content stories to engage our readership. These particular reports were distributed at a number of events that Eric will talk about a little bit more. And we're really seeing this as a great aggregator of what's happening along the corridor. This quarter, Q2, which we're at the tail end of, the focus was healthcare and biotech. And then up next, we'll be focusing on tech, software, and IT. And then Q4, we'll be finishing the year up with a little more fun, food, beverage, brewing, and ag tech. Not that biotech is not fun. Again, one of the primary objectives for our work with Innovate 78 is to expand that digital footprint of information, of content that's out there about what's happening along the region, just to increase awareness. And one of the ways we accomplish that is through the blog pieces that showcase the various businesses. So again, here, just a couple screenshots of the blogs that we wrote. They're promoted in the newsletters that we send out. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. And all of this is corresponding to our quarterly themes that we've set out. So we're really trying to have a very pointed thematic goals through our outreach. And so it's really, we are finding, making a bigger impact than just the one-off stories that we're putting together. Another deliverable that we worked on were our updated fact sheets that highlight regional statistics as well as city-specific industry focuses. This is the fact sheet for San Marcos. This is sort of has a dual purpose. It will also be used at the events, the Innovate 78 events, but the city's also packaging that up on its business visits and including that with city-specific information, just again, to continue to raise awareness about Innovate 78 and make those connections with businesses throughout the corridor. And this branded logo is something that we created for every city to use when they're sponsoring an event that has a correlation to the Innovate 78 brand. A great example of that is the recent event at Cal State San Marcos that was held, the Social Mobility Conference. That was an Innovate 78 sponsored event. So by having this lockup, let me move to the next slide. By having this lockup together when appropriate, it showcases that the city is one of the 5 partners along the corridor. And then I mentioned one of our primary objectives is to expand that digital content footprint for this city and Innovate 78 as a whole. That focus is for here along the corridor, but a secondary purpose is to garner interest and get a little traction outside of the corridor itself. And so one of the ways that we're doing that is with this postcard called Wish You Were Here. It's a postcard campaign, really a recruitment postcard campaign that will reach businesses outside of North County and show them that the grass actually might be a little greener here. This particular postcard features Creative Electron with the tagline, "We're laser focused on you." So trying to be a little pun in this. And the rest of the content highlights the concierge level of service that businesses get here instead of perhaps the red tape that they may be used to in other locations. As you can imagine, with the communications effort, our website is a big part of the work that we're doing. So just a screenshot here, we've spent a lot of time ensuring that all the data that we're updating in hard copy form is also duplicated here on the soft copy landing page for Innovate 78. This includes regional stats for business owners and really aggregates all of this data that data and content that we're bringing together. And then last, but certainly not least, before I turn the presentation over to Eric, I just wanted to highlight some of the metrics we track. If you're like me, you probably want to know, what is my ROI on this investment? And so we at the firm like to track a lot of the metrics to see whether or not we're moving the needle. And the good news is we're showing a lot of data that's very positive to that regard. I'm going to have to make my screen just a little bit bigger because even my readers won't get me those numbers. So if we take a look at that first category there, social media, where we know a lot of engagement and information sharing is happening on a day-to-day basis, you'll see over 22,000 social media impressions during our reporting period from January to May. But what's key there is that 13%, almost 14% uptick in impressions, meaning we're reaching more individuals through our content efforts. What I think is even more impressive is that next bullet point, which is 186 click-throughs to websites. So it's one thing if people see your content on social, it's really amazing if they actually take action and click through. So we have seen an incredible uptick there, over 447% increase in people actually clicking through to content. And I credit that to the content, I think, being superior to what we perhaps have been producing in the past and aggregating some of that data and having some of those thematic goals. I think people are really learning to turn to this as a resource. And then last but not least, that 677 total engagements, again, an over 50% increase there. So I think what those numbers show us are some real traction in that social media aspect. And then email marketing, of course, is another significant tool that we use, and you'll see that we have an email list that's almost 13,000 strong, which is a great number. Our open rate is what we look at from a technical standpoint to see how we're doing, and that 36% open rate is above average. And again, we see that number ticking up almost 7%, so moving in the right direction, a 3.2 click-through rate, and a very, actually a negative unsubscribe rate. So we're seeing that people not unsubscribing as much as they have in the past. I will attribute that, just in my humble opinion, to something we tried with the email marketing that was a little bit outside of the box, and that was sending this out on the weekend instead of the weekday. If you're like me, you're probably inundated during the week with emails from businesses and all kinds of folks trying to get your attention. And what we have found is that people in executive positions tend to read a little bit more on the weekends and are a bit more engaged in those email marketing campaigns. And I think that, along with the content elevation, has been part of our success there. And then some numbers there on our website to show pretty good engagement there as well. So all in all, I think we're moving in the right direction. Campaigns like this always, you know, that time element that's really important in terms of success. And so we hope to keep at it and keep adding to those numbers. So with that, I'll turn things over to Eric, who's going to take things away with the programmatic aspect.
Great. Thank you, Jenny. Good evening, Mayor, good council members, friends here. So what I wanted to cover today is just a couple of things. One is just to talk to you a little bit about your city's investment in San Diego North EDC. We sort of break that into two, I think, really excellent synergistic parts. The activities that we do to support the collaborative, the Innovate 78 collaborative, and then other activities that work to support your city. And we kind of break those things apart because not every city along the corridor shares the same goals and interests, and so we try and understand that we need to serve you both as a member of the collaborative, but also as an individual city of San Marcos. So a couple of things that we do to support the region is that we provide all the data, or most of the data, that Jenny highlighted in her presentation presentation. I just call attention to one fact or one idea here that you're getting an ROI. We provide information on employment that's broken down by sector at the city level. The public sources that are available aggregate that at a county or a statewide level. We go ahead and we subscribe to a database that costs about $14,500 every year, and then we're able to provide that data to San Marcos, both for the collaborative and then own individual efforts, avoiding you having to make that individual subscription. And if 5 cities do it, we would save, on all the taxpayers along the corridor a significant amount of money. We provide these quarterly reports, again, focusing on, as Jenny said, one of the pivot points that San Diego North EDC, along with our collaborative partners, really stressed was the real benefit of trying to focus on individual stories by cluster, by industry area, and particularly to talk about businesses that might have multiple locations, one in a particular corridor, and then always to remind people of a central fact. And I would, if you take anything out of this, I would just really do that, which is that for every one person on the corridor that works and lives in the same city, 3 people are living and working in different Innovate 78 corridor cities. So that is really why we're all in this really together. It is absolutely important to support all our businesses as individual council members for our cities, but let's not forget that many of the residents in San Marcos benefit when the businesses in Carlsbad do well, and similarly, the people in Carlsbad that might be working at the university or the new Kaiser Hospital or a variety of the businesses in San Marcos, they benefit from that flow as well. And I think that's one thing we've really tried to highlight in our research. We've also provided a number of activities that are around programmatic side. So we did, over the last calendar year, we've had a Startup 78 talent recruitment effort in Oceanside. Here in San Marcos, we had a life science dinner just 2 weeks ago, attended by about 25 life science executives up at the McMahon House at Cal State San Marcos. And then on July 12th, we're doing something in conjunction with Connect to bring founders in at early stage companies along the 78 corridor to get feedback by more experienced executives that have been through the effort before. Again, we try and spread things out along the corridor, make sure we have a presence in each of the 5 cities as we do these programmatic activities. Again, these are just some fun shots. On the left is our manufacturing dinner, where we did that at Technology Career Institute in Carlsbad to really highlight the opportunities there. And then again, on the far right-hand side, you can see from the McMahon House, where again, we really focused on how the corridor has educational assets that give competitive advantage for companies that are located there. It really was to try and elevate why the corridor working together and the assets that are available along all 5 cities along the freeway really provide competitive advantage for folks. That's us for the Innovate side, but I did just want to highlight a few things that we're trying to provide value as an economic development entity that either work in conjunction with Innovate 78 or sit outside sort of that framework, just because, again, there's different things that we do that might be apart from the collaborative. So again, I will never go to a presentation where I don't remind people, because sometimes my organization wasn't necessarily mission disciplined. So we just do 3 things at SD and EDC. We market the region for inward investment, we work with existing companies to help them solve challenges so they can grow, and we connect employers and educators to strengthen our workforce pipeline. We try and break everything down into those 3 categories, and we try and execute for the city of San Marcos in those 3 areas. Here, we continue to work with TESS and other SR 78 economic development professionals to support their efforts and initiatives. So I'm on a monthly call with each and every one of them separately to talk about what key priorities are and where we can help to amplify marketing messages or economic development opportunities. We supported the City of San Marcos's economic profile report. To update it again, I mentioned that subscription that we helped you avoid having that cost avoidance. And then again, one thing that we've added new, which we provide now on a quarterly basis to Tess and her team, which is a quarterly update on hiring activity and job posting activity by every kind of the top 10 to 15 San Marcos employers across all industries to really provide you an opportunity to look over real time of whether somebody's ramping up their recruiting activity or scaling down to give you an early warning activity on businesses that might need help growing or businesses that it might be worth doing a bear visit to just make sure everything's okay. We also do outreach to employers, and we have a goal this year of at least 5 located in the city of San Marcos. That's just going out and sitting down with them, talking about their challenges, and anything that makes sense for a citywide basis. We feed that into Tess and her team and keep them abreast of what we're doing. We are piloting this year an attraction campaign wrapped around LinkedIn, which we're calling Why North County. I've got a little slide here where we're going to pilot that to kind of see what we can learn about inward investment and attraction. And we have a new small business resource guide, which I'll show you in just a second. This is our SoCal program. We highlight a number of this is from actually Hunter Industries. So we highlight a number of occupations that are in high demand. And one of the key partners that we have for SoCal is the San Marcos Promise. So they are using the SoCal down at the Future Center there at San Marcos High as their principal way to help students learn and get a snapshot into what different occupations might be. That partnership with Lisa has been fantastic. We provide you, this just gives you some data, and we give this every month to Tess and her team of how we're doing in terms of SoCal metrics. This year, we're going to be launching next month a small business resource guide. Right now, it is in English, but we are in the process of translating it, so it also will be available in Spanish, and we're trying to talk about somebody to get it into Tagalog, because we know that it's important to reach a diverse group of entities. And this will be something which we send out actually to every new business license applicant in the Innovate 78 cities with chock full of different resources that they can take advantage of, from business mentoring to financing to just, how to get a business permit and a license for different activities. This shows you Why North County. This will be our landing page for our attraction campaign. Again, we're targeting LA, Orange County, and some aspects of the Bay Area. And then all leads, the way we've designed this is we'll do this marketing, we'll do it, but all leads will flow to cities as we start to see people come in, because it's important that the EDMs are the point of the spear when it comes to attraction. Again, and then just a little bit on terms of that. City-specific campaigns, we're doing those biannually for each of the cities in North County. We just concluded 2 weeks run for San Marcos, where we had more than 4,000 impressions and an engagement rate of 4.8%, more than 2 times the average. This gives you some of the social media posts that were there if you saw us on LinkedIn or Instagram. And then research, again, provided that economic profile, provided then existing cluster reports, and supported San Marcos's efforts that they had. These actually show you a dashboard that we do. We do these for each of the 9 North County cities, so that when we're talking to businesses, we can provide them kind of a one-sheet data fact about everything that's in North County, so that they have one place to look for it for the various jurisdictions up here. Again, the 78 and our North County Indicators Report, which I think many of you got at our summit. So that's it for me. I thought it was important to underscore some of the other activities. And then again, I think one last thing, and I would be remiss because a number of folks on the council have been, we do quarterly chairman dinners where we try and bring major employers at the C-suite level together. We've had Hunter there, we've had Kaiser Permanente, we've had Creative Electrons, so a number of San Marcos companies, and the more the merrier. So I know we're talking to Baja Design and some others about coming to our next ones. So that's it for me and Jenny, and I know we'd welcome any questions if you haven't, and otherwise have a great council meeting.
Thank you. Thank you both for being here. I thought a couple of the things that were really interesting. First of all, the weekend emails, I would agree with you. I'm pretty much tapped out every day. When I look during the week, I'm going, oh gosh, there's hundreds left, and I just got done with the ones that I was thinking I had made headway. So I have a hard time getting back when I actually pass it up. So I think that's a great idea. And then, are we still the only regional the Innovate 78, are we still the only one of its kind like that nationally? I think we might be.
I think that this is really a unique situation, and you guys really have been leaders in trying to think through how, again, I would say mid-sized suburban cities can work collaboratively to punch above your weight. I actually did have a phone call with a group up along the 50 highway in Sacramento. They're kind of trying, I think they're calling it, Folsom Forever or something like that. I don't know, Americana River. But they're much earlier in the stage, and I think, they are looking to innovate for lessons to be learned in how to do it. But we've heard really nothing of sort of this sub-regional effort of cities to come together. And I think that's really testament to, again, how the cities have worked well together personally, and the bonds that you've made with your fellow council members. But then again, I think really reflecting the reality on the ground, which is the residents of this area don't, they operate in a way that it's a cohesive corridor, and of course are really proud to be residents and citizens of San Marcos, but recreate and work along the corridor as well in their daily lives.
Thank you. And I really do like the job postings too. I think that's great because, when, for instance, Kaiser Permanente opens up, that's 1,000 new jobs along the corridor. We're going to be attracting, talent from all over the corridor, I think. And then wondering what we're going to be doing, if we will be able to have specific, when you talked about the small business resource guide, if you will have specific things that we could highlight as a city, because we just started our open counter, which is one of the newest resources of helping people find a place for the business where they don't have to go through a lot of red tape, because of course we want that concierge service.
Absolutely, Mayor. So I think the way we've really seen with the small business guide is, so we're going to do delivery through PDF, and we really see this, we'll probably print a few, but see this as an important living document. We know we haven't covered everything that small businesses can access or all the opportunities. So as we learn and hear more things, and especially as we get feedback from small businesses of things that they wish they had found, we will absolutely be including those things in here. The idea was really to have it as a living document and make sure that small businesses were aware of a variety of ways that the corridor and entities along it try and support them.
Great. Okay, and then let's talk more about North County being the upside of San Diego, because we are.
I do upper tier, and absolutely. Okay. I love kidding my friends down south of the what we'll call it the geranium curtain, but yeah, no, we're absolutely, and I think, to be fair, this region has, I once was told by a former chair, if you can't do economic development in North County, you should probably stop. But because we've got such great assets, and it is a testament, and not to be too, whatever on a council, but it's testament to the leadership that we've had up in North County for years and years and years. And I think there's still challenges that are there. I think we need to have a more inclusive economic agenda and make sure that all parts of this region are benefiting from it. Additional outreach there, I think, is a key priority for my council. But I think, we've got really great assets to help grow our region.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And any questions from the council guests? Councilmember Musgrove.
Jenny, your great presentation. I thoroughly expected you stole all the thunder, but as usual, Eric always comes in with so much detail. It's fantastic to hear from you. I've had the privilege to sit down and share a cup of coffee that lasted longer than the cup of coffee. The way you support our region is fantastic. We appreciate it very much. I did notice on the one slide where you had the flyer going up to Los Angeles and other parts north, you do have in there San Diego's upper tier. I think it's a great tagline. It says a lot that come see us. You don't have to go, what did you call the geranium line?
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that.
You're fine. Yeah, that's great. And the other thing is, I noticed on your calendar of events, there seems to be a disproportionate number of events occurring in San Marcos. That's fine. Keep doing that, okay?
I think
we have a great city, and we love the fact that you support us so effectively along the region and outside of the area.
Well, and not to be, again, I think that, again, that gets at some political leadership. One of the things that you've really stressed, I think, when working with the university, working with North City, is opportunities for places that we can bring folks from outside the community into San Marcos. And I'd be remiss, one of the things that this city's done that's been really helpful for my council is open up the Valley of Discovery room so I can have my yearly strategic planning session. And that, I think, again, shows leadership and where the city's positioned itself.
Excellent. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Nunez.
Thank you, Mayor. I have really two questions, and the same question for the Innovate 78 and for the North County Economic Development Corporation. I'm personally very interested in equitable accessibility for our divested communities in the region. In fact, I've personally been involved with the state Community Economic Resiliency Fund initiative that the state has launched. So my question really, I think it's twofold. One, do we have a policy, a goal to implement, or do we have something that tells me what sort of equity, especially I'm thinking of equitable accessibility, is that in place? Is that something that's being talked about? Is it being considered as a policy? Is there a place for it? Is there a need for it? If you can help me understand what the conversation looks like.
Take that, or I can.
Go ahead.
I'll talk.
I'm not familiar.
Councilmember Nunez, absolutely. So I can tell you at my council's level, it was a strategic priority and remains a strategic priority to do that. We've looked for funding, actually. One of the things that we really thought would be useful to do, we didn't get that funding from SBDC, but we actually put in for an opportunity to get funded an individual entity. I'm a big believer that when it comes to this, especially with small businesses, it is boots on the ground. It is shoe leather work. You're not going to do it through email marketing or social media stuff. It is going out and meeting with people. So what we talked about them to do, and we didn't get it this year, but we're going to go back again to Danny and SBDC, is to try and fund a person that would focus in whether it is, what I had proposed was that there are areas and neighborhoods in San Marcos, in Vista, and in Oceanside and Escondido, and that we could have one person start with that and really do direct outreach to individual businesses in those areas to help address and make them aware of, because I think that the resources are out there, is to just elevate and raise awareness of those resources in a way that is opening, respectful of the diversity that we have in our community, and understanding that that is an important outreach. I don't think that it is supportable, I think, through collaboration. I don't know if it's supportable just because of critical mass on an individual city level, and that's why we look to try and get SBDC to fund that effort. I will say the other thing, and that again, it's a strategic priority for our council. I would love to work with you or others on how to do it. We have found, for lack of a better word, that the social infrastructure in North County could continue to be built and elevated. I would love, for example, for us to have as well-developed infrastructure as Donna has done with the Black Chamber of Commerce, but that is much more down in southern San Diego and in the central part of San Diego. It would be one, and indeed, we've got money in our budget to help seed and fund that if we had somebody come forward and say, hey, if we had, $5,000 or $10,000, this would help us really hire a part-time administrator or somebody to really work with us. Because again, I'm particularly passionate about this, and maybe it's, too many things with Art Barter and steward leadership. Our North County in 20 years from now, looks fundamentally different, and it is vitally important to be a good steward to help make sure that those leaders that will be present in 2040, that we reach them now and that we bring them into the community and the dialogue. So that's something which remains a priority. We're hoping to get funding for it. Long answer to what you're doing, but know that at least, our council and personally, we're really committed to that activity.
No, thank you for that, and I really do appreciate you mentioning the infrastructure or lack thereof, because I agree, I don't see it, and I think it should be a priority as a region to make sure that we bring those resources. So thank you for highlighting that.
Absolutely.
And Councilmember, I just want to camp onto that a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of the team, but you may have just set us up for a great thematic goal in one of our quarters is to have some of those stories shared. I think when people see their voices reflected in our outreach, it helps amplify them. And so that is something we can certainly give some attention to, and would love to, if you have anybody that you know that would be a great feature for that. I think along the corridor, there's dozens and dozens of stories that we can tell and we hold the key to telling that. So we'd love to amplify that.
Thank you for that, and I completely agree that that's really important. And I do want to commend you for mentioning the small business guide, and I'm glad you're looking ahead to do the translations.
And I love a mic, so I'm not going to do. One thing which actually we're really proud of, and again, I want to commend the San Marcos Chamber of Commerce for that, is our SoCal project. Because one thing which we really focused on the SoCal project, and this is a collection now of more than 100 interviews from North County businesses and folks that are working in different occupations, we made a particularly and concentrated effort that the faces and voices would be younger, and that they would be reflective of the North County in 20 years from now. So I think that if you go on that website, you will be pleased to see kind of the diversity that we tried to get in the interview subjects that I mean, in the end, it's who the business gives us, but we keep, we prompt them and sort of strongly encourage them to put those for interview candidates.
Right, thank you for that.
Okay, Deputy Mayor?
Couple of questions here. On page 6, you talked about the Wish You Were Here campaign, and that you mailed to businesses in southern San Diego County. Do you see that expanding to more than just San Diego County? Or what are your thoughts with that? And what success are you having with this?
Yeah, so that's a campaign to come, so it hasn't happened yet. I think we
Okay.
want to sort of gauge the success of that, see what response we get.
Okay.
And then we'll make some decisions after that in terms of further expanding. But I do think that there's sort of a ring effect. As we get success closer to home, we can look outside of that.
Okay. And then when you talked about San Marcos's investment, do each of the cities contribute the same amount?
Yes, they
And
do.
remind us, what is that amount each year?
20,000 each for the
Each.
Innovate 78
Okay.
campaign.
Yeah, so it's split. It's split 200,000. So 100,000 goes to the marketing efforts of JPW, and 20,000 times 5 comes to me. So 100,000 into
Okay.
SDNUC.
So it's 40 total?
Yes.
Okay. And then, what do you find is the biggest challenge to the existing businesses along the 78?
It's talent acquisition.
Yeah.
It is, I mean, that is the number 1, 2, and 3 challenge. The kind of corollary to that is cost of housing. And the way in which, now again, I think the city of San Marcos, if I was at Carlsbad, I might have a different answer to that. But I think the city of Carlsbad has done commendable work in adding to housing inventory in a variety of price points.
Wait, did you
along
say
the-
Carlsbad or San Marcos?
San Marcos. I met San Marcos. You guys have done great. If I was in Carlsbad, I would be a little bit more critical of them. But you guys have done great on that. But yes, that is the principal issue. Now, I will say the other issue, but this is just challenging, is that the history of North County was one in which we had certain manufacturers grow up in our North County area who the real estate costs in the center part of the region had gotten too high. Their principal decision makers lived in proximity to North County, so South County and Otay really weren't an option, so they located here. Those businesses are under challenge, both because of global forces and the issues about, sort of manufacturing inshore, period. And then California is just a tough place to do business if you're doing manufacturing at a smaller volume. Now, again, you guys have your biggest private sector employer has bucked that trend through, tremendous innovation and investment up at Hunter Industries to be able to be in an industry that is large volume and small margins on individual pieces. But there are a number of businesses along the corridor who are challenged by that economics. We try and make sure that they're aware of all the programs, try where we can to reduce costs, but that is just the sad nature of where we are in California right now today.
And then follow-up question, What do you think is the biggest challenge to businesses who want to move into the 78 corridor?
So we
Same thing?
almost have no, I think that we also have very, very low vacancy rate in our industrial and our distribution areas, sort of this flex space thing. We are basically at this point, all the dirt, as we would say, has been built on. And so the challenge is space for them, and then thinking through creatively, really, as we think about reuse or opportunities to do tear downs and build ups. That'll be really for the next decade, really, North County's biggest challenge to help accommodate that kind of growth as we basically all 5 cities have reached built-out position.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we still are looking for a big anchor tenant there in North City.
I know we are, and that's
Okay.
that is one of that's one of the council's top priorities, is to make sure that North City does what it's supposed to do, which is become really the downtown for the entire corridor.
Okay.
Mayor?
Thank you very much. Oh, so sorry.
I promise, I'm not going
Councilmember
to
Snella.
ask any questions, but I'd be
Okay.
remiss if I didn't thank you for the important work that you're doing. And just a fun fact that Jenny and I had the pleasure of working together about 15 years ago on the San Marcos Economic Development Council. So it's great to see you again, Jenny. And thanks for the presentation.
All right, thank you. And then we do have one speaker, so I'll bring them up, and thank you very much. Okay, we have Marlene Marga. She is here to speak about the Innovate 78. You could just come right on down and right down to the podium right here. Thank you.
Esteemed council members, citizens of San Marcos, California. My name is Marlene Morga. I'm here as a representation of the general public of San Marcos, California, and the residents of North County, as well as the entire county of San Diego. However, I am speaking on my own terms. But my life story reveals a legacy of what my forefathers have taught me. I care not for nobility, nor for prestige, nor wealth, nor rewards. However, I do care about the well-being of the general public and the safety of the next generations, in which we are all, being the former generations, are here to serve, protect, and in which regard they present to us respect and honor. For Innovative 78, I, as a California resident since 2000, however, born and raised in Arona, born and raised in North County, San Diego, born in Escondido, raised in Ramona, and arriving here at San Marcos, California in 1997. And I've been living here ever since, except for one yearly term. Period of 1 year in Oceanside, California in 2019 to 2020. My parents are workers of the field, immigrants from the humble working states of Durango and Guerrero, in the prestigious yet humble nation of Mexico. Throughout my lifetime here, I have seen miracles, I have seen wonders, but also I have seen hard workers dedicated to serving their communities, immigrants who have served in the military themselves, and brothers who have given their lives to help others, but most of all, to honor their families. I tremble with nervousness, for I am not a very great public speaker. However, I am dedicated to serving my community and also serving the public, who in all my travels throughout my life, beginning from grade school to recently college, traveling from the public transit system in North County, and also going to within the I-15, taking the MTS. But throughout my travels, I have seen many people dedicated and working hard. I beseech Mr. Eric and Miss Jennifer of Innovative 78 to look upon not the appearance nor the background of a person, but to look at the stories and the trials and tribulations of the histories of these good people, regardless of nation, creed, and background, whether criminal or honorable, that they may look upon the dedication and strength that families present, fathers who learn from their fathers, and mothers who learn from their mothers, and students, regardless of what institution they are from or educational background or accomplishments they have achieved. But I believe that if the great leaders, long past and existing today, will look upon our city, I believe they would see greatness, because we are a community of world members, of world leaders, but most of all, Californians, citizens of San Marcos. And therefore, I ask Innovative 78 and the North County Corporation, Innovative 78, to please hear my message and please regard my words. I thank you for your time. That is all.
Well, thank you. And I would disagree. I think you're a wonderful public speaker and very impressive, I must say. And I actually grew up in Ramona, part of my childhood, too. So I definitely know what that's like to live there. So anyway, thank you so much for coming this evening and speaking.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
For those of you sitting out there that could not see her speaking, she did not look down at her notes one time. That was
I don't
all,
think she had
all by
notes.
rote. You have a
Yeah.
clipboard? You did a very good job. Thank you. You brought some very valid points. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. All right, that's it for proclamations and presentations. Moving on to the consent calendar. Are there any items that any council members wish to pull from the agenda for further discussion? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We do have some oral communications, some speakers this evening. First off is Alan Garachi.
Good evening, council, mayor, staff. Good to see you all. It was a Tuesday night on May the 9th, 2023 at about 7:45. A grandfather was watching his grandson play second base. As the Red Sox batted, suddenly and tragically, gun violence struck Mission Sports Park. Multiple loud pops could be heard. A bullet whizzed to the infield between two 8-year-old players at first and second base. The grandfather's grandson at second base got up, grabbed his grandson, and exited as fast as he could. Almost simultaneously, a scream of "shooter" could be heard among the 15-acre city park. Moms, dads, uncles, aunts, neighbors, and more ran frantically onto the field, and each grabbed a child and ran to the exit. Like wildfire, the chaos spread around the 15-acre City Mission Sports Park, containing 8 fields and 1 parking lot. Within minutes, the park was emptied. Sheriff's patrol arrived, and the scene instantly changed from the city's ball field to a crime scene. The grandfather's phone rang as officials of the San Marcos Youth Baseball were summoned. Instantly, I was transformed from grandpa to board member at the scene. The bullet was quickly found, was still warm. Deputies spread around and looked for a suspect, including the neighboring Vallecito Water District parking lot. The fields were instantly locked down as a precaution. The San Marcos Youth Board canceled all games for the remainder of the week. As questions were coming from over 500 families of 1,000 children who played at one of the most popular youth sports leagues in the county. The Sheriff's Department had no leads, no suspect, and could not provide any peace of mind to the situation. The board wanted to get back to normalcy and asked the Sheriff's Department for some increased patrol when the league resumed play 4 days later. The board also asked the school district to provide additional counseling services for the families and children at the schools. Although play resumed on Saturday as planned, and additional patrol and counselors were provided as requested, 2 weeks later, the Sheriff's Department sent a $3,000 bill to the San Marcos Youth Baseball to be paid by the families, the victims of gun violence in San Marcos. Now, San Marcos Youth Baseball has authorized me as the treasurer to pay this bill. The additional patrol was for a city park. As everyone knows, the city contracts for police services with the county sheriff's department, and some of you profess to be the guardians of public safety, or at least your campaign signs suggest so. And I just want the city to know that although public safety is a requirement of city government, that here in San Marcos, it comes at a price having to be paid by victims of gun violence, not once, but twice. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you for your political speech this evening. Mr. Gracci, our captain, is here this evening, Kevin Ralph, and he will be available for you if you'd like to have a discussion with him. Next off will be John Boderoff. Sorry if I said that wrong. Looks like Boderoff. Followed by Darren Marlowe. Next will be Suzanne Hume.
Good evening, City Council. My name is John Bodorf. You did very well. Don't worry about it.
Sorry.
And I'm with CleanEarthForKids.org. We thank the City of San Marcos for your integrated pest management program, but you are using pesticides banned in other countries. Toxic chemicals like imidacloprid, banned in 29 countries. Diquat dibromide, banned in 31 countries. Bifenthrin, banned in 30 countries. Beta-cyfluthrin, banned in 31 countries. And even glyphosate, which is known to cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and other cancers and serious health problems. We ask San Marcos to follow Oceanside and Vista and stop using toxic pesticides. We must reduce the toxic chemicals and pollution our children are exposed to every day. Rates of childhood leukemia and brain cancer have been increasing since 1976. Cancer is now the leading cause of death by disease among children under the age of 15. Air pollution and chemical exposure triggers cancer, especially in children. So reducing exposure to air pollution and chemicals is extremely important. Please pass a ban on public smoking like Encinitas, and also stop the sales of all smoking products, including tobacco, cannabis, e-cigarettes, and vapes like the cities of Beverly Hills and Manhattan Beach. Also, please pass an ordinance to stop all smoking and vaping in multi-unit housing, which has already been done by over 74 cities and counties in California. Up to 65% of the air in a multi-unit home can come from other units in a building. Secondhand smoke is a toxic air contaminant linked to cancer, lung infections, bronchitis, asthma, and many other health issues. Air purifiers do not get rid of secondhand smoke. It can travel through doorways, cracks in walls, electrical lines, and plumbing. There is no safe level of exposure to secondhand smoke, and home is the #1 source of secondhand smoke for children. There's also third-hand smoke, the toxic residue from smoking that is left on surfaces and even in dust. It's also on the clothes, hair, and skin of smokers. Third-hand smoke, which contains strong carcinogens, has been found to persist in houses, apartments, and hotel rooms after smokers move out. Studies show hand washing drops the toxin levels on the hands, but they are back 40 to 60 minutes later. So even if someone doesn't smoke around their kids, they are still exposing them to toxic chemicals that can interfere with brain development, causing things like ADHD, along with liver disease, cancer, and type 2 diabetes. It can also make asthma worse. Lastly, we asked the city to ban wood-burning fireplaces and stoves in new construction and work to stop all wood burning in the city. According to the San Diego APCD, wood burning is tied with construction and demolition as the main sources of PM 2.5 in San Diego County. Wood burning dumps almost 3.5 tons of particulate matter into our air every day. We have all been through forest fires. The air pollution from smoke that's been all over the news recently is the same pollution coming from your fireplaces, coming from your neighbors' fireplaces. PM 2.5 is dangerous. These particles are 2.5 microns in diameter, much smaller than a human hair, which is 50 microns. These microscopic particles can get deep into our lungs, even into our bloodstream, and even go into our organs and brains. Exposure to particulate matter increases the risk of serious health outcomes, including asthma, pre-birth, birth defects, hypertension, heart attacks, strokes, cancer, and brain conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and dementia. Particulate matter can cause immediate health problems like asthma attacks, heart attacks, and strokes. Wood smoke also contains cancer-causing pollutants like benzene, formaldehyde, acrolein, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs. Burning 10 pounds of wood in 1 hour creates the same cancer-causing PAHs as 6,000 packs of cigarettes. That's like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for 16 years just by sitting next to a wood fire. You can watch our Dangers of Wood Smoke video on the Team 3 page of our website, made by Judith, a member of our youth board who taught herself animation to make the video. Please take action to protect our kids and stop using toxic pesticides, ban public smoking and smoking in multi-unit housing, and get wood smoke out of our air. Please protect our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Quick question of our city manager. The California Building Code does not allow new construction to allow wood-burning fireplaces, I don't believe. Isn't
I
that-
would have to check with our building
Okay,
official. to
I don't
confirm
think
that.
it does. I think it does. I think it prohibits it, but okay. Moving on to Daria Marlowe. I'm sorry. Is that Darren? Is it Daria or Darren?
It's Darren.
Okay, sorry about that, Darren. And Suzanne Hume, followed by Jennifer Ho. Oh, actually, no. I think she's actually in a different. So followed by, sorry, that will be Norm Miller. Sorry. Okay.
Thank you for letting me speak. I'm also here to ask that the city ban toxic pesticides from being used in parks and public lands. Stopping the use of toxic pesticides would protect children, families, and others who come to San Marcos parks and lands. As John was talking about, a lot of these pesticides are banned in other countries due to the health risks that they pose, ranging from irritation and rashes to cancer. And if we stop using toxic pesticides where we live and play, families could feel more confident that they'll be safe. This would also protect surrounding wildlife. Animals can be poisoned by ingesting pesticides, and predators can be especially affected. Many of the health risks for wildlife are similar to that of humans, like vomiting and damage to the liver and kidneys. Animals that we love and that we benefit from would be allowed a greater quality of life if they weren't constantly exposed to pesticides. And finally, our atmosphere would benefit from stopping the use of toxic pesticides. Pesticides can destroy our soil systems, killing soil microbes that help nourish plants and sequester carbon. Our soil sequesters more carbon than is contained in all plants and the atmosphere combined. Our air would be cleaner and our plants would be healthier if pesticides were no longer sprayed in our parks and public lands. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Next, Naram Miller, followed by Yusuf Miller.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Woo.
Sorry,
You're
we're
fine.
going to start the timer over. Your time's not up.
You're good. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Suzanne Hume. I'm the Educational Director and founder of CleanEarthForKids.org, and so proud of Darren. We call her Film Darren because of her fantastic videos that you can see on CleanEarthForKids.org. And I just have and thank you to Naeem Miller and board members, John Botorf and Yusuf Miller and all the others out there. So I was poisoned by toxic pesticides used near my home. And I thought that my life would end within the year. So I was instructed to move because of the physicians that I saw. And so I gave up my teaching job, and I now work for free. Clean Earth for Kids is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we have interns throughout the country, and we also work internationally on stopping toxic chemicals, toxic pesticides, PFAS, and pollution. And the reason that we have this momentum throughout the country is because people understand that we need to do something to protect our kids. Yes, more people are surviving cancer, but our kids are getting sicker. We have more people that are getting cancer and getting sick. What can we do? We can stop toxic pesticides and toxic chemicals in the parks and the places that they play and at schools and near their homes. This is easy to do. After I was poisoned by toxic pesticides, we went to Oceanside City Council, and we talked to them, and I was very sick. They stopped the toxic pesticides in the parks. And if Oceanside can do it, then you can do it, and on public lands. Their IPM is so much better than yours. Your IPM allows toxic pesticides, and it's so upsetting because obviously we know firsthand what these can do. Ever since 2017, on a daily basis, I have looked at this information, and quite honestly, and Film Darren was in high school at the time, quite frankly, because I was a teacher, and so I had, my students were there and knew what was happening, and students that that we obviously love and are amazing. And they did panel discussions, research. We met with Harvard Law, Columbia Law, Earth Justice, asked us to co-sponsor an event, et cetera, Beyond Pesticides, et cetera. But if not for the fantastic work of our youth and our youth board, the Oceanside would still be using toxic pesticides. It shouldn't matter. And now Vista, and John spoke too soon because Vista it's not finished yet. But the staff was really clear. The city council told staff, bring back a different IPM. And so, Carlsbad hasn't used toxic pesticides for years in the parks, and neither has Irvine, and I can go on and on and on. So it shouldn't matter your zip code, where you live, whether you're exposed to toxic pesticides or not. So our parks need to be safe, and our public lands for all of our kids. This is a liability issue as well. Just to say what you're using could wind you in court really fast. Glyphosate has been in the news, and if you're on social media at all, you see all of the different things about Roundup and the different chemicals and things like that. So I would hope very much that the staff would bring back a really quality IPM, improve what you have vastly. Oceanside isn't perfect, but it's a lot better than what you have. And again, they did that effortlessly years ago. The gold standard is the city of Malibu. And again, it shouldn't matter, how much money you have in the bank, because you can stop toxic pesticides, and you don't need synthetic fertilizers or synthetic pesticides. You can follow. We have an 8-minute video called Pesticide Free Park, and it shows you how to turn a dirt lot into a resilient playing field. So you can, again, check that out with just natural ingredients. And you need a soil test, which is really easy to do because our water is our soil is very salty because our water comes in, a lot of it from Colorado, et cetera. Anyhow, so this also means please stop funding synthetic turf. Synthetic turf is full of PFAS, so protect your water from over 14,000 forever chemicals, because that's what synthetic turf is. There's information on our synthetic turf page and lots of wonderful videos that Darren has made and others as well. This is happening all over the U.S., by the way. There's bills up to help cities and help school districts pay to take out synthetic turf because of the cost it's going to take. Forever chemicals shouldn't be in our water because they're toxic, and our kids need to be safe in the places that they play. Thank you.
Thank you. Yusuf Miller is next.
Excuse me, I think you called Naeem Miller, but you just mispronounced it. Should I let Naeem Miller go first?
I'm sorry. I had Naeem who was supposed to be just speaking. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't actually have you. Oh, okay. Sorry. I do. My apologies. I have a lot of paperwork up here today. Okay. Naeem Miller followed by Yusuf Miller. My apologies.
Hello, my name is Naeem. I'm with Clean Earth for Kids and NAACP. Pesticides can lead to short-term and long-term damages to the human body. Pesticides can also weaken the immune system, which protects the body from diseases. Pesticides are linked to a range of serious illnesses and diseases, from lung problems to cancer. With this in mind, pesticides can also affect animals as well. While a lot of us eat meat, that could also mean that we are all getting sick whenever we eat. And since there are kids playing outside, it can even worsen their immune system while they are also growing. Secondhand and thirdhand smoke is toxic. There is no safe level of secondhand smoke. There is thirdhand smoke, which is the chemical residue left on clothes and on smokers' skin. In black neighborhoods, they are more exposed to these toxins. Second and third-hand smoke is very harmful to breathe. People with illnesses exposed to second and third-hand smoke can have their conditions worsened. And with black neighborhoods being more exposed, people who are in these neighborhoods with health conditions can get worse. Secondhand smoke left on clothes, furniture, and any surfaces exposed to smoke are back 40 to 60 minutes later, meaning washing them doesn't remove their risks. And these toxins can interfere with brain development. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker then is Yusuf Miller. My apologies. I'm getting out of order.
Oh, no problem, not at all, no problem. Wow, what a great guy there. SubhanAllah. My name is Yusuf Miller. I'm with the Clean Earth for Kids in the North County NAACP, as well as the North County Equity and Justice Coalition. And I'm here to speak about pesticides as well. And when I speak about these pesticides, I want to congratulate San Marcos for the beauty of San Marcos. I see the trees. I'm driving here with my son. We're looking at the flowers and the trees. And as we expand urban greening, we unfortunately expand the use of pesticides in an act of doing something great, which is lowering the temperature of San Marcos, providing places for our youth and our elderly to cool off and play. We are unwittingly increasing the pesticides, which when rain runoffs not only affects San Marcos, but also our surrounding cities. And our surrounding cities are not knowing that some of their runoff is coming from San Marcos. So it's a really interesting problem that we have, that if we can address this in a way that is intentional, we can not only protect San Marcos and our children, our youth, and our elderly, but also our surrounding neighbors. These pesticides that are banned in other countries, we should take note of this and try to be intentional in protecting our children. But not only that, we should go a step further in increasing our urban greening in a way that continues to beautify San Marcos. San Marcos is beautiful. I was walking with my son here from the car, and we were talking about the stones and the trees and, you know, all the innovation and beauty of San Marcos. And I was like, wow, I would be called a tree hugger back in the day. You know, wow, look at this tree. Look how it grows. It's not just that we have greenery. We have trees that are indigenous to Southern California. This is very important. Plants that are indigenous to Southern California, very important. Trees that, if we study our trees and the trees that we acquire that grow straight down instead of out wide, that tears up our streets and tears up our public accommodations. Plants that increase our native insects and birds that actually feed them and support our native pollinators. There's a lot to what's going on here, and we're talking about pesticides right now, but if you join us in the quest for this greener but safer environment for San Marcos, you will see at cleanearthforkids.org that there are a lot of options that we could have, a lot of different trees, a lot of different plants that we can use that will also benefit our community and not damage it and harm it at the same way. Clean Earth for Kids has many children, like you said, not just children, just young adults and kids that are just expert in dealing with this issue. It's not just backwards R's that you're gonna see kids in crayon writing. No, that's not what you're gonna see. You're gonna see engaged youth participating in the political process, in the legislative process, getting these issues pushed to the front. We have two examples right here who are absolutely awesome, but we have those that you haven't seen that weren't able to make it to San Marcos, who's waiting and standing by to educate other youth and support other cities. So please take advantage of using cleanearthforkids.org, and we invite you all in your youth and every youth of every group to join us in making a better and safer community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, we like to see young people out and active as well and being part of the process, so we commend them for sure. Okay, moving on to new business. We have,
Mayor,
I'm sorry,
can I just-
yes, council member.
I know that we can't correspond during
Yes.
back and forth, but however, I do want to just let Mr. Garachi know that during council commentary, I'm going to bring up that Mission Park incident. After the day after that had occurred, I had reached out and asked if we were going to increase our patrols. I thought that was a very reasonable thing to do. I was told that there would be some increase to the sheriff's patrols. I was not told that the Youth Baseball League was going to be asked to contact the San Diego County Sheriff's Department to contract for extra patrols. So I want to learn a little bit more about that, please. And I'll bring that up during the council commentary.
Okay. Great.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. Item number 17, which is our appointments to city commissions. The first order of business is our Budget Review Committee. And so our Budget Review Committee, we have one new, let's see if I have that right. Sorry, 2 regular positions, and we have some applicants. So our first applicant is going to be Jim Knowlton. He's already on the commission. Is he here this evening? Okay, hello. I didn't see you back there. Followed by Ben Barlow, and then Joanne Harris Malone is not able to make it here this evening. She has a family emergency. So you can just come up if you want to tell us a little bit about why you want to be reappointed. That'd be
Sure.
great.
Well, good evening, Mayor Jones, members of City Council and City staff. It's been my honor to serve on the Budget Review Committee for many, many years, although I'm not the most tenured person on the committee. And I've appreciated the opportunity to provide input and recommendations to Jack and Michelle and Laura and the finance team to help them create a balanced budget to bring to the staff each year. And looking forward, I think the city's going to have a number of tough budget years ahead, just as we did last year. Coming out of the pandemic, people are working differently and playing differently and living differently, and revenue streams are, as I think was presented, they're coming in lower than they did before. And, inflation is real, expenses are under pressure, so I think the real challenge is going to be for the city to have kind of a set of initiatives and priorities and expenses that are on a kind of sustainable trajectory that matches kind of the revenue reality that we're going to see for a couple of years. So that's what I would look forward to working with the staff on in the future. and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your service, because it is a big deal for us to have people that are willing to come forth, serve, and do a great job. So anyway, thank you for doing that. Ben Barlow is our next speaker. I guess he is not here this evening. So we have two regular positions available. I would make a motion to keep James Knowlton on as a regular position. And then I'd like to add Joanne Harris Malone as a regular member. Then we would have someone from District 3 as a regular full-time member, which we do not have at this point in time. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Okay, seeing none. And then one thing I did want to bring to council, and I've already brought this up to our city attorney, and that is we only have one alternate that is currently on the Budget Review Committee, so I asked her to look into seeing if we could put, or to bring forward us having two alternates, so that'll be coming at a later date, not this evening.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I just want to make a quick comment. Jim, where'd you go? Oh, you're down there. I just want to say thank you for attending all 5 of the meetings, because it really makes a difference when we see that the participants are attending the meetings. So that's really important. So thank you for taking the time to do that.
Okay, moving on to our community foundation. We actually did not have any applicants for that. We have one position available. And then we had a late response by Jennifer Ho. Is Jennifer here this evening? I think she is. Hi, Jennifer. I couldn't see you. You're right behind someone. So would you like to be on the commission? But we'd love to hear from you, if you don't mind.
I didn't have to speak.
Okay.
Hello, Mayor Jones, City Council members. I know some of you from my work at Cal State San Marcos, where I am Communities and Cultures Archivist. But tonight I'm here just as a resident of San Marcos who would like to get more involved. I'm originally from the San Diego area, but I lived in Chicago for a number of years, and while I was there, I worked at the Chicago Community Trust, which is Chicago's community foundation. I was the archivist there, so I did not do any grant making or development, but I loved seeing neighbors and small organizations work to improve the quality of life for the community and for the people around them. So I would like to be part of that here now that I live in San Marcos. I apologize for getting my application in under the gun. I actually spoke to Colleen Lukoff, who heads the Community Foundation, a little over a month ago, but due to travel and health and things like that, I apologize for being so late. But yeah, thank you for your consideration.
Well, we certainly appreciate you stepping forward, so thank you very much. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jennifer Ho as the regular position on the San Marcos Community Foundation. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any noes? Seeing none, motion passes. So you're welcome. And yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
So as you were standing there, Jennifer, I realized you helped put the video together.
She did.
For the Historical Society for the city, correct?
She's not wearing her suit. She's a citizen today.
Yeah.
Yes, for Cal State.
Did you helped with that, right?
Oh, she's talking about for the special collections, the videos for the history.
The oral history is
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you so much, the three of you, for attending that event last month. It was great to see you there.
Of course, our pleasure.
And Mayor, before you
Yes.
move on to our next
Yes,
one, I just want to
Councilmember.
really say, Jennifer, thank you for stepping up and doing this. It's such an important position. And I know you live in District 1, which is not always represented in our commission, so thank you so much for stepping up. And I also want to share that Paul Mendoza, who's also part of the Community Services Commission, is also here, so you can pick his brain as well.
Okay, all right, moving on to our Youth Commission. We have 3 regular, wait, is that right? Yes, 3 regular positions available. Our first speaker is going to be Reed Emoto, followed by Tejas Sabodi, followed by Rena Damian. If I said your name wrong, my apologies. There you are, Reed. I thought I recognized you, and then I wasn't sure. Are you having a fun time?
Yes, I am having a very fun time.
I meant not during this meeting. I actually
on the
meant,
youth commission, yeah.
no one's going to say yes to that. No,
the
I'm
youth
talking
commission,
about
yeah.
as your position, because you're currently on the commission, correct?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Today.
All right, so tell us all about it and tell us why you'd like to be appointed.
Oh. Hello, San Marcos Council members. My name is Reedy Motogaray, and I'm here for your vote to be nominated for a seat on the Youth Commission as I'm currently serving as an alternate. Allow me to recap my past contributions to the Youth Commission. This includes volunteering at events such as Family Halloween Night, tree lighting, Breakfast with Santa, and Spring Egg Scramble. That is so hard to pronounce. My most impactful contribution was the Diversity Town Hall, where I represented my Japanese heritage by bringing in local businesses such as Bushikan Karate Dojo, Japanese Language School, San Diego Kimono Club, and a Happy Spatula, which is an Asian market. If elected, I want to improve the way that youth commissioners are viewed at events so that more young people become involved with the community. Beyond volunteer events, younger people should have the opportunity to be an ambassador for other youths for future volunteer events. To close, I would like your vote as commissioner for 2023. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And you actually have gone to every single meeting so far, which we appreciate. And I know Deputy Mayor will bring this up. Jenkins, she loves to see that too. So we really appreciate that. Tejas Sabodi, followed by Rena, Damian, and then Siddharth Subramanian will be next.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and fellow young citizens, good evening. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Tejas Sabdi. I'm an incoming junior at San Marcos High School. Not only am I passionate about my education with a GPA of over 4.0, I am also an athlete. As a member of the football team, I have learned the values of teamwork, dedication, and perseverance. Each time we walk on the field to play a game, we know we are representing our school and our city. Representing my fellow students, I'm also a part of ASB, our student leadership, where I've developed strong leadership skills and an understanding of the issues that affect us as students. Additionally, I'm the proud founder of the table tennis club at our school, which has brought together students from diverse backgrounds, fostering friendship and a love for the sport. Furthermore, as a member of the South Asian Culture Club, I've worked to celebrate and promote the vibrant traditions and heritage of our culture. My dedication to leadership and community involvement has also been recognized on a broader scale. I had the privilege of representing San Marcos High School at a state leadership conference, where I learned valuable insights, developed my skills, and connected with leaders from across our state. Education and mental health. These are not just buzzwords for me. Education is the foundation upon which our future is built. It is the key to unlocking our potential and preparing us for the opportunities that lie ahead. As a member of the Youth Commission, I will be a staunch advocate for educational reform. I will actively seek partnerships with local businesses and organizations, bridging the gap between education and real-world experiences. I want to set up a youth mentorship program where students like me can learn from real-life experiences. I want to see an entrepreneurship incubator program where we can help support our youth in setting up their dream business. We always encourage small businesses and shop local, but to make that happen, we need to start by showing our future generation the roadmap to success. Mental health is another critical aspect of our well-being that deserves our attention. Far too often, the struggles we face go unnoticed or unaddressed. It is time for us to break the stigma surrounding mental health and prioritize the emotional well-being of our peers. I will champion initiatives that promote mental health awareness, advocate for increased access to resources, and work to create a culture of compassion and support within our schools and community. My fellow citizens, today I stand before you not only as a candidate, but as someone who genuinely believes in the power of youth to effect positive change. I humbly ask for your support, your trust, and your vote as together we embark on our journey to build a brighter future for all. Thank you.
I wanted to make one comment. I like that you brought up the mental health aspect. I don't know if you've heard of We're in This Together, which is a joint partnership with the city. We've actually put about over $2 million into that project with the San Marcos Unified School District so that we can help the kids in the community. So we are taking steps to do that. So it'd be fun to see if you are selected this evening, what you could do with that program and how you can help promote that. Thank you. Okay, Rena Damian, better put my grinding glasses back on, and then Siddharth Subramaniam. Hello.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Rena Damian, and I'm applying for my re-election in the San Marcos Youth Commission. This past year, I've gotten to serve with a really great group of teens who are really hardworking and passionate for bringing our community together. This year, I've gotten to expand my involvement and reach out to the community. I've participated in events like the Diversity Town Hall, where I got to represent Mexico, and I volunteered at events like the Easter egg hunt. Why I also think that I am eligible for this role is because I was elected as the San Marcos FFA chapter president at San Marcos High School, which is the largest CTE pathway at our school with around 600 students. And through this, I've been able to participate in a lot of events, lead events at our school, and go to different competitions throughout the state. And I even got to speak last month at the year in review with the school, and I got to speak on behalf of our new facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is Siddharth. Not here this evening. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. Subramaniam? Am I saying that right? I don't know. Does anyone else think that? Did you want to come up?
No, he actually sent he emailed his speech earlier.
Oh, I might not have seen it because
I forwarded it to the council.
Sorry, I
He wasn't
haven't
able
read
to
my
make it.
email.
He was sick.
Okay. Oh, he's sick? I thought it was Addison that was sick. My apologies. Am I wrong?
I could be wrong. I don't know. There's a lot of emails going
I don't
around
know.
today.
Okay, well, so let me ask you, Mr. Skolick, if I'm correct on this. So we do have an alternate, which is Reed. So if we were to promote Reed, then I would have 3 regular positions and then 1 alternate, I think. Well, actually, 2 more regular and then 1 alternate if I move him up. So I actually end up with 3 regular and then 1 alternate if I move the alternate up. Well, he would be one of the 3 seats, but, okay. All right, so I would like to move Reed up as a regular position from an alternate. And should we vote on these separately, or just, I could both them together if no one cares? If that's fine, okay. And then Tejas Sopti, also as a regular, Rena Damian, reapplying as a regular, and then I'd like to make Siddharth Subramaniam an alternate, if that works for everyone. So that's 3 regular positions and then 1 alternate. Yes? Okay. All right, so that's my motion. Do I have a second? Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, Mr. Skolick, if you could reach out to Addison Strong and let Addison know that we really would appreciate Addison showing up to the meetings. It's important for us to have people involved, and they can still, Addison can still volunteer for all of the events. That would be great. And then Siddharth, if we could also let Siddharth know that as an alternate, we want them to show up, because that certainly helped Reed out this evening to get moved up, because he has 5 out of 5 as his attendance record. We really appreciate that. Okay, moving on then to our next item of business, and that will be our public hearings. And a lot of papers up here this evening, so, oh no, I got it. I got it. There's a lot. There's a lot up here. And actually, the reason I couldn't figure out the date was I saw something with a January date on it, and I got confused, and I went, wait, what am I looking at? I didn't think that was the right paper. Anyway, okay, so we have the next order of business is and this is the first time we're doing this, so we're going to try to make this as clean as possible, but it's a public hearing which for General Plan Amendment GPA 23-001 and associated entitlements comprising of the following projects. Item A, request for approval of a mitigated negative deck ND 22-010, General Plan Amendment, rezone, conditional use permit, and variance to develop an ARCO AM/PM convenience store, automotive fueling station, car wash, and drive-through restaurant on a 1.76 acre parcel, vacant parcel, on the southwest corner of North Las Posas and West Mission Roads. Item B, approval of Resolution 2023-9158, certifying final environmental impact report FEIR 22-002, specific plan, general plan amendment, rezone, multifamily site development plan, and tentative subdivision map for Meritage Homes to develop 120 residential condominiums on a 7.6 acre vacant lot located at Las Posas Road and Palm Road. And item C, approval of general plan amendment GPA 23-0001, general plan amendments as recommended for approval by the Planning Commission 7-0. So we will start with item 1, which is the public hearing for the ARCO AM/PM, the general plan amendment as I stated earlier, and then we have the staff and applicant presentations. So see, I was hoping that being that was going to take quite a while for me to say all of that you would have time to jump up in your seats and be ready. Mr. Fracci.
All righty. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Just want to go to the next slide, please. Just a small introduction here. So in accordance with Government Code Section 65358, the city may amend the general plan up to 4 times per calendar year in order to accommodate requests needed, and it's also common and permitted under the government code to combine multiple general plan amendments into a single general plan amendment. So tonight, as you had noted at the beginning, we do have 2 general plan amendment requests, which will be batched under this one agenda item. For this first item, Sean Del Solar and Kyrene Chua from our development services team will be presenting. So I'll hand it over to them.
Thank you. Item A is a request to allow an automotive refueling station, car wash, convenience store, and drive-through with the following permits. General plan amendment to change the land use designation of the subject site from mixed use 3 to commercial. A rezone to commercial to implement that land use designation change, a conditional use permit to develop and operate the facility, and a variance to reduce the required separation of automotive refueling stations from 500 feet to 225 feet. And to mitigate negative declaration in accordance with the requirements of CEQA. The project site is a 1 3/4 acre parcel vacant parcel located at 200 Las Posas Road, just south of the intersection of Mission Road, on the south side of the NCTD Sprinter right-of-way and regional rail trail. Although currently vacant, the site was previously developed in the early 1950s with an industrial building and parking lot that were removed in 2002. To the northeast of the project site is Palomar College and an existing Chevron gas station and a specific plan area that allows uses consistent with the commercial zone. To the north is a CVS and the proposed Meritage Grand Vista project. To the west and south is existing industrial development, and to the east across Las Posas Road is a drive-through restaurant and AT&T telecommunication switch facility in the commercial and public institutional zones. The project will be developed with an 18-pump covered fuel island at the center of the site. On the northern side of the property to the right is a car wash structure with 16 parking spaces equipped with vacuums to serve car wash customers. The site will include a total of 59 parking spaces, 3 of which will be reserved for electric vehicle charging. On the south side of the property to the left will be a food mart that will include a 3,800 square foot convenience store and a 1,200 square foot tenant space for a future drive-through tenant. All on-site structures will have consistent architectural design with a cultured stone wainscot-clad base, decorative cornices, and stucco wool finishes. Both entrances to the Food Mart building seen here will be anchored with tower features that will utilize composite material on the top half to give the appearance of natural wood. Substantial window areas included on the north elevation, and metal awnings with tieback hardware will provide an additional architectural detail over the windows. Rear and side elevations will incorporate pilasters and a three-dimensional trellis with the integration of yellow flowering climbing vines to help break up building planes. Rooftop mechanical equipment will also be screened by parapet walls. The car wash structure will match the design of the main building and will also use pilasters, decorative cornices, windows, planted trellises, and varying wall heights to provide an enhanced appearance. All mechanical equipment associated with the car wash will also be enclosed within the building and not publicly visible. Lastly, the fuel island canopy will also match the other buildings, and the support pilasters will incorporate cultured stone. The applicant has prepared this rendering of the finished project with the landscaping installed. Approximately 20% of the project site will be landscaped, exceeding the 10% landscaping requirement of the commercial zone. Landscaping will primarily be around the perimeter of the site and will include the water quality basins. The project will install over 40 trees of varying species and sizes, from 24-inch boxes to 15-gallon size containers. Additional flowering shrubs and cycling ground cover will complement the trees, and all landscaping will comply with the city's requirement to provide water-efficient landscaping. As previously mentioned, an existing refueling station is located on the northeast corner of Mission Road in Las Posas. San Marcos Municipal Code Section 2420.050 establishes a 500-foot separation between refueling stations to prevent overconcentration of such uses at any one intersection. The 500-foot separation has generally been applied to the nearest points of the property lines. As shown in the graphic, the separation between the refueling stations is 225 feet. However, the center point of both separation of both stations is 500 feet. In this instance of the project, unique site characteristics support a variance in that the railroad right-of-way along Mission Road both physically and visually separate the gas stations, and because turning restrictions on both Las Posas and Mission Roads limit access to each gas station from opposing directions of travel. As a result, a variance to allow separation of 225 feet from property line to property line at the two gas stations is recommended for the proposed project.
Access to the site will be taken via a singular right-in, right-out driveway off of Las Posas Road. The driveway will be limited to a width of 35 feet based on the city's urban street design criteria and similar projects in the city. Queuing for both the driveway through and the car wash will occur towards the rear of the site to eliminate the potential impacts on Las Posas Road. Adequate space has been provided on site for the circulation of both emergency vehicles and fuel trucks, even when fully parked and queued in the drive-through aisles. As previously mentioned, the project site is located on the southwest corner of Mission Road and Las Posas Road, adjacent to the NCTD Sprinter rail line. Access is centrally located on site to provide as much distance as possible from the rail lines to the north and the intersection of Las Posas Road and Armorlight to the south. Traffic analysis was prepared as part of the MND and resulted in no significant impacts to the nearby street segments or intersections, and no off-site improvements were deemed necessary at this time. Project will consist of locally serving land uses, such as a gas station, to existing vehicle trips, not intended to attract customers from the larger North County region. As such, the project will not have an impact to the VMT in the area. The site will maintain existing drainage patterns to the south and southeast of the property. Flow will be captured into numerous treatment facilities on site before entering a detention system located under the parking lot to mitigate for larger storm events. The fuel island area will be covered and designed to prevent stormwater runoff from draining to it. Any wastewater that collects under the fuel island canopy will be discharged to the sanitary sewer to avoid contaminating downstream facilities.
The existing general plan land use designation of the site is mixed use 3 with a consistent zoning designation. The site was originally designated as industrial but was redesignated as mixed use 3 in 2012 when the general plan update and comprehensive zone change was adopted. The mixed-use 3 zone is a non-residential designation intended to provide a variety of commercial and office uses integrated into a cohesive development. Uses compatible with the MU3 zone include commercial services, administrative and office uses, business support and financial services, and healthcare facilities, among others. The general plan, the project proposes to change the subject site's general plan land use designation and zoning designation to commercial. This change would expand the existing commercial district along the Las Posas Road corridor. The commercial designation would also allow the development of the site with the proposed automotive refueling station, car wash, and drive-through restaurant with the conditional use permit. The requested commercial redesignation would also continue to be consistent with the general plan land use goal number 1, in that a commercially designated property at this site would achieve a balanced distribution and compatible mix of land uses to meet the present and future needs of all residences and businesses in the community, in that the project is complementary land use to those in the vicinity, promotes commercial use of the property, and provides an automotive fueling station in the vicinity of arterial routes of the city and State Route 78. An economic study was prepared for the project to analyze the potential change of direct and indirect economic outputs of the proposed project and alternative development of the site consistent with the mixed-use 3 designation. To analyze these differences, a theoretical 30,000 square foot office building was considered, maximizing the development potential of the MU3 zone. Additionally, a market analysis determined that approximately 60% of that floor area of the building would be occupied by medical offices, while the remaining floor area would be utilized as administrative offices and ancillary retail and commercial services. The analysis determined that a one-time economic output of $16.4 million during the construction of the proposed project was expected, while ongoing economic output was expected to be approximately $640,000. The alternative mixed-use 3 development of the site would have a one-time construction output of $12.7 million and an ongoing economic output of $14.1 million. This difference is primarily the result of more economic activity created by a higher density of employment and office land uses of the mixed-use 3 development as compared to the proposed retail and service commercial uses by the project. A fiscal study was also prepared for the project and analyzed potential reoccurring municipal revenues and expenditures associated with the proposed project and alternative mixed-use 3 development. For the purpose of the study, revenues included property taxes, sales taxes, licenses and permits, franchise fees, fines, and among other sources of revenue. Expenditures included public safety costs, public works maintenance, and other costs associated with the delivery of municipal services. The proposed project is expected to generate a recurring general fund revenue of approximately $59,300, and there is an expected recurring expenditure of $2,200, resulting in a net surplus of $57,000 or a revenue to expenditure ratio of 26.21. The alternative mixed-use 3 development of the site would be expected to generate a recurring general fund revenue of approximately $42,500, and there would be an expected recurring expenditure of $23,700, resulting in a net surplus of $18,700 or a revenue to expenditure ratio of 1.79. A mitigated negative declaration was prepared for the project and circulated for a 30-day period from October 24th to November 23rd, 2022. As mitigation measures, tribal monitoring of grading activities is required consistent with the tribal consultation that occurred for this project. Avoidance of nesting bird season is also required, and annexation to community facility districts for public services such as police, fire, paramedic, landscape, lighting is also required. A public workshop was conducted on September 1st, 2022, and was attended by 4 surrounding property and business owners. The comments expressed were the following: a desire to preserve adjacent industrial uses. As previously noted, the project is not currently zoned industrial, and the proposed commercial uses are intended to support the workforce and business needs of the adjacent industrial uses. Comments related also to environmental impacts to the creek, as well as those with potential traffic concerns, which have already been discussed in greater detail in previous slides. The Planning Commission conducted a public hearing for the project on May 20th, 2023. Public comments on the project were generally related to traffic and construction noise and provided in greater detail in the Planning Commission minutes included in the staff report. The Planning Commission did add 2 conditions of approval for the project, requiring the integration of landscaping into the design of the wool on the NCTD right-of-way, and to utilize level 3 DC fast charges for the required electric vehicle charging stations. For item A, staff recommends adoption of the mitigated negative declaration and approval of the entitlements in the order indicated on the screen. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. I believe we probably have do we have any other presentations from anyone else? No? That I'm not sure. If not, then I'd like to open the public hearing. So we have no applicant presentation this evening.
The applicant doesn't have a presentation tonight.
Okay. So I'd like to open the public hearing. So do we have any speakers on this item? I think we did have one. Oh, now I can't find it. I think it's, shoot. I know we do have one. Oh, here it is. Lonnie Taba on 18A. My apologies. I knew it was here. There's a lot of paper here.
No problem. Good evening, Honorable Mayor.
Oh, if you don't mind coming up just a little bit and pulling that a little bit. Thank
Good
you.
evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Deputy Mayor, council members. Thank you for having us today. Unfortunately, my architect got stuck in major traffic, so he couldn't make it today, and I'm a little bit embarrassed of that, but he should be here soon, so we have to keep going. But thank you for having us today. It was really a long journey. We're almost about 3 years into this with the city of San Marcos. Everyone was great to work with, staff and everyone. I think we changed the site plan probably, over 10 times with the city to make sure that, everyone was happy and the flow was good and everything. But I think it turned out to be a great project. The main things that when we went to the Planning Commission was asking about the EV charging stations, which we're gladly to have, and they asked about landscaping and stuff like that. I mean, basically everything to make this project successful, we were willing to do, and we did about every study that you can ask for. So, basically, sorry, because we have several projects, but going back to it's mixed use, office, retail. We are changing the zone to commercial zone. The economic study showed that clearly and confirmed that the proposed project will provide substantially more sales tax revenue, employment, and desired services for the area. I think this is a good project where it is close to the college. We were able to work with Aaron from Ascend Coffee to, rent them that space there, that 1,200 square foot drive-through there to put coffee in, kind of a smaller version of what they have in the city now, but something for the college students and the people to grab a good bite to eat and get on the road. So as far as that, so we have the mini market to serve for the gas customers, the car wash customers, and then we'll have the coffee shop Ascend there, serving some food and some coffee there. And we did the drive-throughs only for that coffee restaurant because it's only about a 1,200 square foot restaurant. It's not like a Starbucks or anything like that. We just, so mainly customers will be grabbing what they need to and getting on the road. We're gonna work, we intend to work with the colleges, given a lot of, discounts for the college students and for a lot of people. I mean, we really are honored to work and we really wanna be part of San Marcos. Me and my family, we've been in this business for over 25 years and we're developers and operators. And we really intend to hire everyone from San Marcos, from the managers, from the employees and everything. And, our facilities are clean, good customer service. We really care about keeping our, because for us, how are you better than the gas station next door? Okay, you can have good price, but good customer service, clean facilities, making people's experience good when they come the first time. And that's what we're all about, and we really would love to be part of San Marcos. So, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me. It's been a really, really long journey. It's probably the longest journey I've ever dealt with and going through, but COVID happened and a lot of other things happened during the way. But that's about all I have to say. If anyone has any questions, please feel free.
Well, thank you. And yes, the pandemic brought a lot of new challenges for everyone. So thank you for staying with it. I really like the component of bringing in a local business, Ascend Coffee. That's great to hear. I do have a couple of questions because I think there definitely is a significant benefit for the folks that are leaving Santa Fe Hills that are coming that way, because it's really hard to get to that other gas station if you're leaving, because I don't think there is a U-turn that's allowed right there. And then even if you are, even if there is a U-turn, which I looked at the map as staff was giving their presentation, do we happen to know if there is, if you're coming south on Las Posas, if there is a U-turn that's allowed at Mission? I don't think it is. And even if you were able to, it would be very difficult to get on your way if you're getting on the 78. I don't even know how you get out of there. You'd have to do all these different U-turns and everything, a lot of movements.
Yeah, there isn't the ability for the
I didn't
U-turn
think so.
because of the tracks primarily.
Okay, yeah, so that actually makes a lot of sense to me. And then because of the ingress and egress, 59 parking spaces, that's a lot. So my question is, on the, it says 16 parking spaces with vacuums. Are you going to make sure that those say vacuum only or something like that, so people don't, I mean, I think it's more than overparked, but just in the event that it's not, is it just going to say vacuum only or something like that on those spaces?
Yeah, it's going to say vacuum only on
Okay, perfect. Okay, just wanted to find out on that. And then, let's see. Okay, U-turns. I think that was actually all the questions that I had right now. Oh, the car wash. So is it the drive-through kind of car wash, or?
Yes.
Okay.
It's called the Flex. So basically, they'll go through and they'll either they do drive-through. It's a drive-through car wash. But if they want someone to vacuum and dry it, we'll do it for them. It's up to them.
So they can actually dry your car as well?
Yeah, if you have the choice to do that, it's called the Flex.
So it's more than Soapy Joe's, because I don't really have time to drive by.
Yeah. So we will do that for the customer. We'll ask them. It's called the Flex. So it's an express and a Flex. And there's a lot of people that have higher end cars or whatnot. They don't want to dry it or do it. That we'll do it for them.
Nice. And then, do you have? Sorry,
No.
I'm very selfish. I am thinking a little bit about myself right now.
Okay.
Are there like monthly? Okay. Interesting.
There's monthly memberships.
Yeah.
We'll be promoting discounts for college students and for city staff. We're going to be doing a lot of good things, but yeah, definitely monthly parking. And I forgot to add something, Ms. Jones. We will be running conduits for future, where all the gas pumps are for future electric stations if we need to add more. We're putting in a position. How many did we say? We're putting in how many
I think
cars?
3.
Now?
I think it was 3 originally.
But 3, that double that we can do 6 cars, correct? It's
There are 3 of the fast chargers.
yeah, but the fast chargers, each of them do 2 cars. So but we're running more conduits for the future as things change. If electricity starts pushing a little more, we have to keep in business, so we're going to add more. We're going to run it now, the conduits underground, so we don't have to break concrete later and do that.
Right. So you'll be ready for the future, because transportation is definitely changing.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Well, good. That was actually one other note that I had here. Any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Musgrove.
Actually, my question is for staff. That on the last general plan update, that was rezoned MU3. Have there been any viable options entertained either by developers or discussions with the city on some sort of project for that lot?
At least during my tenure here, I think Mr. Tabai was the only applicant that I'm aware of that came in and looked at possibly developing that site.
So, and it is surrounded on the west and south by industrial, so that's a
That's
completely different
correct.
zoning option.
That's correct.
Okay, just want to clarify, thank you. And just for those out here, we pay our full price when we go get our cars washed.
Oh, yeah, we don't, yeah, we can't do that. Yes, Mr. Zanella.
Thank you, Lonnie, for the
Councilmember.
presentation. Thanks, staff, for going over this. Really excited that you're thinking about the future as it pertains to the EV vehicles and the charging stations. And I didn't see this in the report, but I'm super excited that you're talking with Extend Coffee and Erin. Not only is she a local business owner who lives here in San Marcos, but she has a very special place in everybody's heart here in our community, and her food is amazing. And so not only will the residents in that area and the students that you talked about at Palomar College be able to get a good cup of coffee, they're going to be able to have a new food option in that part of the city, which I think will be welcomed. So
Thank you very much.
Smart
And
move.
it's definitely Aaron's location. It's promised. It's done deal. So we like the way, and we tasted their food, me and my wife, Sana, and we really liked it. She's a great person to deal with, and I'm glad everyone in the city likes her. So, yeah, we're definitely going to have her. Thank you for letting me, sharing
exciting.
that with me.
And a side note, she roasts her own coffee here in San Marcos, too, at our coffee collective, California Roasting. Councilmember Nunez, did you say you had something? No? Deputy Mayor Jenkins.
Let's see. This might be a question for staff. I have a couple of them. The drive-through restaurant, is that able to have seating inside if they so choose? Yes. Okay. I thought that's what you were trying to say. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. And then you talked about the vegetation on the North County Transit District wall. Kind of a silly question. Is that both sides or one side?
The concern at the Planning Commission is because that wall would be visible from Mission Road.
Right.
That they wanted to have some kind of deterrence to graffiti, so they're talking about the side facing Mission Road.
Okay, not the interior wall.
Well, the interior wall is there's gonna be a landscape planner.
Anyway,
on
okay,
there.
okay. So is that something that has to be approved by North County Transit?
Yeah, we'll work with North County Transit on it.
Okay, so it'll be, I'm trying to think what else is there. There's no other wall along there, is there? Further, that would be, what would that be?
Yeah,
West?
currently there's a small retaining wall there between this property and the NCTD Sprinter. Right of way, this project will slightly increase that wall height.
Okay, so whatever wall is there, I get it. Okay, let me see if I have anything else here. So, just a question about the 59 spaces, because I thought about that today, thinking, I mean, it's great we have all those spaces for people, but is that also, I think I saw in here, that's also while they're filling up, for the spaces while they're filling up their cars, correct? It says,
18 parking spaces included in the 18 pump gas stations. So, yeah, probably 18 of the 59.
okay, okay.
Right? Sorry.
Yeah, that's correct. The
Okay.
parking standard that the city has for gas stations includes the spaces at the actual fuel pumps themselves as a
Okay.
requirement.
Sometimes they go in to pay when they're getting something inside, so, yeah, they could just leave their car there.
And then one other question, and I'm sorry if you specified this on the maps, can't even read all of it with my glasses on. Where are the gas tanks going to be?
Underground. Sorry.
I'm looking on maybe the drainage and water.
It looked like one of the renderings, it looked like there was a superimposed tanker.
Okay.
So at the point of ingress, before you get to the pumps, it looked like it to me, at least, when I was looking at the slide.
I bet
Yeah,
you.
the gas tanks would be located in the rear of on the west side of the fuel island, basically, near
Okay.
the entrance of the car wash.
Okay, so not close to the road.
Correct.
Okay, because we had an instance once where there was issues with the truck turning in, so these are not going to be near the road.
That's correct.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Taba. So now I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have one? A
Move to
motion?
close the hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any other discussion among the council? Nope. Seeing none? Okay, then I'd like to make entertain a motion to approve the item. So that would be for, am I doing this right? This is what it looks like. We've never done it this way before, but I think a recommendation to adopt or approve the mitigated negative deck and the resolutions for the ARCO AMPM project.
Do we need to draw those out, Madam Counselor?
I could say them again. I did say them in the beginning, so Mrs. Peak usually lets me do that.
Yes, it's in the agenda, and you've already said it once.
So moved.
No need to say it again.
Okay, so we have a motion, and I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Okay, motion approves. Now we will go to item number B, or item B, Meritage Grand Vista, General Plan Amendment, GPA 210007, Environmental Impact Report, EIR 002, sorry, Specific Plan SP 210003, Rezone 210003, Multifamily Site Development Plan, MFSDP 21-001. Keep laughing. It's a lot to say. And tentative subdivision map TSM 21-0003 for approval of entitlements to develop 120 residential condominiums on a 7.6 acre vacant lot located at North Las Posas and Palm Roads.
Thank you again, Mayor Jones and council members. Norm Pedersen and Kyrene Chua will be providing the presentation for item B tonight.
Thank you. Item B, our item tonight is specific plan for 120 condominium by Meritage Home for the council's consideration. The applicant, Meritage Homes, requests approval of a specific plan, general plan amendment, rezone, multifamily site development plan, and tentative subdivision map. There's also a request for certification of an environmental impact report with the adoption of a mitigation and monitoring program and a statement of overriding considerations. On June 5th, Planning Commission recommended approval of the proposed project by a 7-0 vote. The project site is shown in yellow and is located northwest of the intersection of Las Posas Road and Mission Road in the College area neighborhood. Santa Fe Hills is located to the north on Las Posas Road. Palomar College is located to the east, along with the Transit Center, which includes bus service and the Sprinter line. The Transit Center is in walking distance from the project site. Here's an aerial photo of the project area showing the surrounding land uses. Located adjacent and directly to the south of the site is an existing CVS pharmacy. To the west is a vacant commercial property. To the northwest are existing single-family homes, and to the east across Las Posas Road is a vacant commercial property zoned for senior residential. And further east on Palm Road are existing single-family homes. Here's the project site plan. The project proposes 120 townhouse-style condominium units consisting of 16 buildings with 4 to 10 unit complexes. Most of the buildings are 8plexes. The project will include recreational amenities, garage and open parking, and landscaping throughout the development. The current land use designation and zoning of the project site is shown in gray and is commercial. In order to develop the project site with the proposed townhouses, the requested entitlements include a general plan amendment and a rezone. The project proposes to change the land use and zoning to specific plan area to allow for the multifamily residential under a specific plan. The general plan amendment and rezone would amend the general plan land use map and zoning map to the proposed specific plan area designation. The proposed Grand Vista specific plan will serve as a comprehensive planning document that establishes development guidelines for the project site. The document will serve as the primary land use, policy, and regulatory document for the project by providing a development planning review process. Under the specific plan, the only permitted use within the project site will be multifamily residential and its recreational amenities to be used by the project residents. The specific plan includes design standards and other requirements to achieve the specific plan objectives of a high-quality development. The Tama subdivision map proposes to consolidate 2 existing lots into one 7.6 acre parcel as outlined in yellow on the right of the slide, with 120 airspace condominium units. The subdivision boundary includes internal private drive aisles and alleys with emergency access easement dedicated to the city. Entry into the subdivision is provided by 2 existing driveways, entrances, one on Las Posas Road and the other on Mission Road. And the development footprint of the subdivision requires the vacation of an existing city slope easement along Las Posas Road. The vacation of the city slope easement will be brought forth to Planning Commission as a separate future item on July 17th. Under the multifamily site development plan, the project design is reviewed for compliance with the development standards of the Grand Vista specific plan and other regulatory provisions. The site development plan will address the design of the 120 townhouse units, the associated private and common open space, the recreational amenities, and review of the floor plans and architectural elevations. The proposed project includes 3-story townhomes ranging in size from approximately 1,200 to 1,800 square feet. Recreational amenities will include 3 tot lots, 3 exercise areas, barbecue and seating areas, a dog park, and a community garden. The project applicant will be speaking after staff's presentation and is available to provide more detail regarding the proposed units and amenities. The building consists of a contemporary craftsman architectural style, including pitched tile roofs, pop-outs, and wall projections, and enhanced features such as textured colored walls, wood trim, brick, and other enhancements. The proposed 3-story buildings would have a maximum height of 45 feet. As part of the adjacent CVS project, which was built in 2010, the existing driveway entries on Las Posas Road and Mission Road were constructed on the subject property. This included the construction of 38 parking spaces on the project site for use by future development. These existing driveways will provide shared access for the proposed townhouse development and the CVS pharmacy. For the proposal, the project requires 280 parking spaces in accordance with the city parking ordinance. The proposed project will provide a total of 298 parking spaces. This includes the existing 38 spaces previously constructed on the property. Each unit will have a 2-car garage. 45 of those garages will be tandem garages. 20 guest spaces will be located throughout the development in addition to the existing 38 spaces available for guest parking. Consistent with the latest Title 24 building code, all the garages will be EV capable and there will be 2 level 2 chargers for the guest spaces. As part of the development's parking management plan, garages will also include windows to allow HOA enforcement of garage parking requirements. In accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, otherwise known as CEQA, an environmental impact report was prepared for the project. An EIR scoping meeting and public workshop was held on May 12th of last year. The draft EIR was circulated for public review for 45 days from April 3rd to May 18th of this year. During the public review period, a total of 13 public comments were received by the city. Caltrans provided comments on the transportation section related to vehicle miles traveled, or VMT. Comments from VWD and the San Diego County Archaeological Society were standard response letters, with VWD indicating their review requirements of construction plans, and the Archaeological Society concurring with the cultural mitigation measures required for the project. 10 of the EIR comments were received by nearby residences, which were primarily related to traffic. Responses to the EIR comments are included in Appendix N of the final EIR. In summary, the EIR concluded that all areas of impact would be mitigated to less than significant, except for transportation in regards to vehicle miles traveled. In regards to mitigation for biological impacts, the project would avoid potential impacts to coastal sage scrub along the western property line through the installation of temporary fencing during construction. The project is conditioned for a nesting bird survey prior to any on-site disturbance during the nesting season. For cultural impacts, the project is conditioned for cultural monitoring during grading activities for potential subsurface prehistoric and historic artifacts. To discuss further the project's transportation impacts, Kyrene Chua from Land Development is here to discuss the local transportation analysis and VMT with the next several slides.
Thank you, Norm. The project analyzes transportation from two different perspectives, level of service and vehicle miles traveled, or VMT. Level of service focuses on vehicular delay and roadway capacity. It is a measure of congestion that assesses the delay experienced by a motorist. A chief way to mitigate level of service or congestion impacts is to widen roadways. Widening roadways can impact other modes of travel, such as pedestrian and bicyclist, and with level of service, development can occur anywhere so long as vehicle capacity improvements or measures are implemented to mitigate the impacts to drivers. This can result in lots of vehicle trips and a lot of vehicle miles when projects are located remotely. To address this issue, the project also analyzes traffic from a vehicle miles traveled perspective. With VMT, we look at the total distance traveled by vehicles. We analyze how many miles a person is likely to travel based on their home or work location and the transportation network around that location. Areas that are walkable, bikeable, and transit accessible therefore perform well under the VMT standard. The VMT metric favors development and transportation infrastructure that improves mobility and provides alternatives to using an automobile. The project's transportation analysis consists of both of these components. The level of service analysis looks at the number of average daily trips generated from the project and whether those trips contribute to a vehicle delay at the intersections and how it might affect road segments' capacity within the analysis study area. The level of service analysis is conducted to determine whether the project is consistent with the city's general plan, which strives for minimum acceptable levels of service. The analysis then considers a second component, the vehicle miles traveled analysis of how many miles a resident of the project is likely to travel based on the transportation network around that location. The VMT analysis is required to determine transportation impacts for CEQA. The project's local transportation analysis concluded that the project anticipates to generate 960 average daily trips with 77 AM peak hour trips and 96 PM peak hour trips. The local transportation analysis analyzed 3 intersections and 4 road segments, demonstrating all intersections and road segments have an acceptable level of service for near-term year 2024 and horizon year 2050 with and without project scenarios. For assessing VMT impacts, the vehicle miles expected to be traveled by someone living at the project location is compared to county-wide averages. A project's VMT per resident or per employee needs to be 15% below the regional averages in order to avoid a significant impact. So it shouldn't exceed 85% of the regional average miles traveled. Much of San Marcos' VMT zones are areas that exceed 85% of the regional average, so any project proposed outside the green areas of the city would need to mitigate for VMT. The areas proximate to both State Route 78 and San Marcos Boulevard offer the best options for multimodal transit, so they have a VMT that is less than 85% of the regional average. Most other areas of the city exceed 85%, so any type of development in those areas need to look at approved measures to shorten vehicle trip distances or reduce single occupancy vehicle trips, such as encouraging biking, walking, or transit use. As part of the screening process for a VMT analysis, a project will look at its proximity to a high-quality transit area to determine whether it can be exempt from a VMT analysis. This project is located very close to a high-quality transit stop. However, a project must meet all of the screening criteria under the high-quality transit exemption. Therefore, even though the project is located within 1/2 mile of a high-quality transit area, it cannot utilize this exemption for a VMT analysis due to the amendment to the general plan. This slide compares the project site VMT to the threshold required, which is 85% of the regional average VMT. The regional baseline VMT is 18.9. A project needs to remain 15% below that, or at just under 16.1 VMT per resident per day, in order to avoid a significant impact. But at this location, the regional tools forecast that a residential project is going to generate 17.1 vehicle miles traveled per resident, which requires a 6.1% reduction to be less than significant. The project will provide subsidized transit passes to its future residents as a VMT reduction strategy, which will reduce the VMT impact by 0.1%. Since the project is unable to mitigate below 16.1 VMT, transportation is considered significant and unavoidable impact under CEQA. Norm will be discussing overriding considerations in the next slide.
Thank you, Corrine. Given the unavoidable impact regarding VMT, the adoption of a statement of overriding considerations in conjunction with the EIR certification is required. The statement of overriding considerations cites benefits that justify approval of the project and outweighs the unavoidable adverse environmental effects of approving the project, and thus make the adverse environmental effects acceptable. The benefits cited include providing additional multifamily housing in the city, payment toward city and regional infrastructure, and improve compatibility with the adjacent existing land uses, as well as other rationale for accepting the overriding considerations as outlined here. State CEQA guidelines require that EIRs examine a range of reasonable alternatives to the proposed project that would obtain the basic objectives of the project and would avoid or lessen environmental impacts. As described in the statement of overriding considerations, alternative 1 would result in no new development of the project site and would not meet any of the project's objectives. Alternative 2 would develop the site with a grocery store, gas station, and office building under the current commercial zone. A commercial development of this type was anticipated for the project site when the adjacent CVS pharmacy was constructed in 2010. The development footprint would be similar to the proposed project footprint, but with different uses. Footprint-specific impacts, such as those related to biological resources and cultural resources, would be similar to the proposed project. Impacts to traffic, air quality, and greenhouse gas impacts would be greater for a commercial development as considered under this alternative. Since 2010, the property owner has reached out to supermarket developers, but none have expressed interest in developing the site. This alternative would not meet the project's objectives by providing housing. Alternative 3 would involve a project with less density at 4.3 dwelling units per acre compared to the 15.8 units per acre for the proposed townhouse project. This would equate to 33 single-family residences within the same development footprint as the proposal. Lot sizes would be similar to the adjacent single-family subdivision to the northwest. Similar to Alternative 2, footprint-specific impacts such as those related to biological resources and cultural resources would be generally the same as the proposed project. Contributions to public facilities and school fees would be less. Although this alternative would reduce impacts, it would not fully meet the project objectives nor provide the number and type of multifamily housing at an affordable range that is proposed by the project site, by the project. In the next slide, Kyrene will discuss the potential traffic impacts if the site was developed under Alternative 2 or Alternative 3.
Thank you, Norm. As part of the project alternative analysis, we've evaluated the potential transportation impacts that may occur with these alternatives. Under Alternative 2, existing land use designation, this alternative would generate approximately 10,692 to average daily trips versus the 960 ADT for the proposed 120 residential condominium units, which may result in failing level of service at the surrounding intersection and road segments. This project alternative would not meet the floor area ratio to utilize high-quality transit exemption for VMT analysis and would likely result in a transportation significant impact based on VMT. For the reduced density under alternative 3 would generate less ADT. However, residential use requires a general plan amendment and would likely result in transportation significant impact based on VMT, since this alternative would not be able to screen out from VMT. Also, this project alternative is undesirable from a VMT perspective, since a project for this site should provide greater density due to its proximity to a high-quality transit area, which would help lower the city's regional VMT average.
Thank you, Karine. Because the project proposes a change to change the land use of the property from commercial to specific planned area to allow for the multifamily residential, fiscal and economic studies were prepared to evaluate the benefits and impacts of such a change. In the studies prepared by DTA, the proposed townhouse project was compared to a commercial development under the current zoning. Generally speaking, fiscal impact studies look at city revenues such as taxes, licenses, and permits, and also look at expenditures such as public safety, public works, maintenance, and administrative services. The fiscal impact study for the project estimates that the proposed multifamily residential use would result in a recurring fiscal surplus of approximately $55,000 to the city's general fund, as compared to a recurring fiscal surplus of approximately $280,000 if the site was developed with commercial. Economic impact studies typically look at how much benefit the development would bring to the area based on economic output such as sales and employment. The economic impact study for the project estimates the recurring economic output to the city would be $2.7 million compared to the recurring economic output to the city if developed as commercial as $18.7 million. The one-time economic outputs resulting from construction of the projects are also indicated in the slide. The project site has remained vacant under the current commercial zone and is unlikely to be developed with a commercial center due to trending economic conditions where there is a greater demand for residential units than the need for commercial space. Richard Ruiz from DTA is available if you have any specific questions regarding the fiscal and economic studies. An EIR scoping meeting and public workshop was conducted last year, which was attended by 5 neighbors. Comments were primarily related to traffic. As previously mentioned, 10 comments were received during the draft EIR public review period from nearby residents. Again, comments were primarily related to traffic. Responses to those comments are provided in Appendix N of the final EIR. At the Planning Commission hearing, 3 nearby residences objected to the project due to added traffic congestion concerns along Los Posas Road, and favored the previously discussed EIR Alternative 3, the reduced intensity alternative with 33 single-family residences. In addition, a realtor spoke in favor of the project, indicating the need for housing in the city. In summary, the project would add available housing to the city. The project implements smart growth concepts by its location near transit, commercial uses, and employment opportunities. As discussed in the staff report, the project is consistent with the general plan and its land use goals and the housing element, goal 1, by providing appropriate land use transition between the existing single-family residential to the northwest and the CVS commercial building to the south. Places high-density development within walking distance of transit facilities. Creates a high-quality design project established under the proposed Grand Vista specific plan. The site is located in an area that can support a variety of uses which are suitable for multimodal transportation, such as nearby transit facilities and bike lanes. And the project will be in addition to a broad range of housing opportunities within the area. This project would generate significantly less traffic than if a commercial development was developed on the site under the current zoning. Lastly, based on the current market, there is a greater need for residential uses than commercial space. Recommendation for item B, Planning Commission recommended approval to City Council of the requested entitlements as outlined here. This concludes staff's presentation. Jason Greminger from CCI, the project representative for the applicant, now has a presentation regarding the proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Jason Greminger. I'm here representing Meritage Homes, the applicant. Thank you, staff, for putting this together. You guys did a great job tonight. I'll start off by talking about the builder, Meritage Homes, a little bit. As you can see, they've quite a storied reputation throughout the building community. They've won quite a few awards. They've built over 165,000 units, and that's within their 37-year history. Currently, they're in 27 markets throughout the nation, and they are focused on efficient homes and first-time home buyers. So I think it's an important group that they're really trying to service with their home building efforts. Ooh, this thing's got a pointer on there. That's cool. This slide's a snapshot. As I just mentioned, they are focused on energy efficiency and making environmentally friendly homes. And so this slide shows some of those efficiency measures that they strive to incorporate in their home building. And it also makes them an environmental leader throughout the home building industry. And I think, as staff mentioned earlier, each garage is EV capable. We can see all the measures that they're trying to implement here that go above and beyond what you would typically find in this kind of construction. The project, we think, is very thoughtful design. We spread the recreational amenities throughout the project. The applicant wanted to design a project that circulates well, it lives well, and it also respects the neighbors' privacy. So you'll notice that there's a drainage channel there on the west side of the project, and the buildings that are there are kind of set back a little bit, and we've added some additional landscaping along that frontage there that it's kind of facing the homes to the west. And then also on the north side of the project, we've added some recreational amenities to create a little bit of an additional buffer there for the neighbors. And then on Las Posas Road, again, you see kind of the end caps there of the buildings, and that's by design to make it not so imposing on the street scene. Similarly, on the western side of the project, we have end caps facing the homes there so that they're not having long faces of buildings looking into their backyards. Also, those end caps have limited windows. And we think that once the landscaping grows in and the trees mature, it really will be very well screened from the neighboring properties. Again, I think the focus of Meritage has been what we call workforce housing. They like to build that product that fits the missing middle. First-time home buyers, middle income buyers, and step-down buyers. And then they're providing 3 floor plans and ranging unit sizes kind of fit into anybody's income levels and accessibility. The open space for the project, and I think Norm touched on all the different recreational amenities that we're providing, but we tried to do a good job of spreading those out throughout the development so that nobody is too far from any one recreational amenity. What we are providing, the minimum required was 24,000 square feet of common area open space, and what we are actually providing is about over 6 times that amount. So we think we did a good job there of getting quite a bit of open space and landscaping into this project. Similarly, the private open space, we'd be required to provide 6,000 square feet, and we're about 2.5 times that amount. And that private open space is in the form of decks and balconies. What I'm showing on the slide here, you can see what Norm touched on earlier, and this was the plan that was included with the CVS development in, about 10 years ago now? A little over 10 years ago. And that original plan included 69,000 square feet of grocery store, 23,000 square feet of office, 276 parking spaces. So as staff mentioned, that's 11,000 trips to our 960, which is quite a big gap. And we think that given the infrastructure, the driveways, the signals, everything that was built when the CVS was constructed was to accommodate that commercial traffic, that it will handle quite well with a residential project here. And then the other thing that we're adding that I think Kyrie mentioned is the traffic loops. installing the traffic loops at the driveway on Las Posas to give those signals a little bit better functionality. Again, we're very close to transit. I would call this a transit-oriented development for all intents and purposes. You know, they're about a 5 to 6 minute walk to the bus station or the Sprinter station. Two of the larger transit stations in San Marcos. And I think that this project really does promote itself as a project to allow the residents who move in to utilize alternative modes of transportation, which makes it a little bit more environmentally sustainable than your average project. And I think it fits into the mold that Meritage is trying to bring to the table with their environmentally friendly projects. So I'll wrap it up here. Project benefits, we're thinking that this project is the missing middle. It's a workforce housing project. It brings those types of homes that we feel contribute, brings workforce into the San Marcos, allows people to step down if they feel like they're in homes that are too large. It's also a project that generates much less traffic than the commercial project that was proposed. Also very near to transit, and we hope that promotes, like I just mentioned, people from using their cars and less reliant on their cars to moving toward an alternative modes of transportation. We think it's a respectfully and thoughtfully designed project. And then finally, I want to back up a little bit and give a little bit of the history of the site. So as Norm mentioned, this property has been around for quite a long time in its current state. It's been graded in the 80s. And the property owner's done over 1 million square feet of commercial and shopping centers in San Marcos, and I know they've tried very hard to develop this site as a commercial site. Even before the CVS site was graded and that plan that we were just shown a few minutes ago was shown, they've been promoting this as a commercial site. I think had they had a real buyer, a real tenant, a real offer for this project, they would have preferred to develop as a commercial development, but it just hasn't panned out. And so what we feel that we're presenting tonight is a very nice, attractive alternative, and we think is an appropriate project for this site. So with that, I'll close my statements, and I'm open to answering any questions.
Okay. I would like to open the public hearing then, and go ahead and ask any questions you have of the applicant, council. Let's start with Councilmember Sanella.
Well, thank you, staff, for that presentation, and thank you, Jason. You know, so many of our neighborhoods in San Marcos are you know, they have the word hills after them: Santa Leo Hills, Santa Fe Hills, Discovery Hills, and so they're described that way because they're hard to walk. And this is a particular part of the community that happens to be flat, and it also happens to be near transit and schools and retail. So I think it's a good spot for your development. It sounds like what you just said at the very end of your presentation, that if there was a grocery store chain that wanted to go there, they would be there. Unfortunately, that's a private sector decision, and it sounds like nobody has really shown much interest to go there. So I think given that, this is a great use of that property, and especially considering that it can be you know, biked and walked to mass transit, the middle school's down the street, the college is there, of course, and then of course we have a bunch of retail nearby that can be accessed as well. So that's great. Thanks.
Hey, Councilmember Musgrove.
Yeah, this is in my district, as was the AMPM, and we're always looking for opportunities for a grocery store. I've had that discussion a number of times with our Director of Economic Development, but we don't build grocery stores, and the city doesn't build anything. We zone and plan out long-term with the hopes to have certain projects coming into place. And as it was described to me, this lot is a little too small for a large grocery store, and maybe a little bit too big for something like a Trader Joe's. And looking to find a tenant there, I know somebody that owns that piece of property is not just sitting on it. They want to get it processed and get it moving on, because that represents an asset that they have, but it's an empty lot. It's not generating any revenue. So there's a motivation to do something with it. And when we have projects, housing projects that have come up when I was on the Planning Commission and now on the council, we always have that discussion about that missing middle. So we do very, very well in this city on projects for varying incomes, starting at low to moderate and working our way up. And when I saw the option there for 33 homes, my first thought was the cost. If we were to build 33 homes, single-family residence, it changes everything. It lowers the ADT, which is fantastic, not by a significant amount, but the amount of infrastructure that would have to be put into place to develop that land, to provide that, the roadways, just so much goes into it. These would not be that missing middle homes. These would be 1.3, 1.4, $1.5 million homes. And that doesn't really help us with our housing stock, where we need to keep the people that are working in San Marcos that are looking for somewhere to live. It doesn't have to be a McMansion, but they need to have something that will support a family and a growing family. And I think this is a good example of what we can do with the limited space we have and the options that are available. Great location for public transportation. We did talk a lot about the Sprinter Station, but we have a major bus terminal right in front of Palomar College that's on that side of the street. Simply cross Las Posas, and you're a 5-minute walk away. And not changing the point of ingress, egress, I think is fantastic. It keeps the traffic moving along Palm. And for the people that would be leaving on those ADTs going to work, they have the option. They can go south on Las Posas to go to the 78 interchange, or turn right onto Mission, since it's a ride-out only, and either access South Santa Fe into Vista or up Rancho Santa Fe to 78, or continue on Rancho Santa Fe. And hopefully those jobs that they go to are going to be in the city, so the options will be there, but they'll stay in town. I always look at the VMT reports with a bit of a jaundiced eye because they suppose a lot of different things. My hope is the people that will move into these homes will be working in San Marcos. And so we'll improve our housing stock, provide those housing needs, and keep people in town. I thank you for the presentation, and thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. I actually have a couple of questions, but I'll go ahead and go to Councilmember Nunez and then Deputy Mayor Jenkins.
Thank you. I share of what's been shared so far about the project. I do have some questions about the project, what's proposed. Is there a low-income affordability component as part of the project? Are we considering building low-income?
They haven't included that in this project. As far as I know at the moment, they're deciding to pay the in lieu fee for this. But they'll make that decision prior to building permit. I think they have a little bit of time to think about that. If they want to include it, they can.
We have an affordability crisis and an accessibility crisis. I think that has been front and center, right, for all of us, especially the last few weeks here in San Diego County, considering what's been happening at the city of San Diego. So this is something that really, it's important to me, and I think it's important to all of us to make sure that we include some sort of low-income component, right, to what we're approving. So I want to direct your attention, staff's attention to the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting minutes that struck me. So I'm looking at the minutes of Monday, June the 5th, 2023, when this project was considered by our Planning Commission or commissioners. And so there's a couple of things in here that I really like that our commissioners are thinking about, right, these issues that are so pressing and so important to all of us. So I did see in here in the minutes that the applicant would make that decision at some point in the future whether or not to pay the in lieu fee or to build the 15% affordable housing. So my question for, I think, the applicant at this point is, at what point will that decision be made, and if you can share how that decision will be made?
I think a lot of that goes with the current market conditions and the cost of materials and labor to build this project. And I think that the reason that a lot of people are afforded that opportunity to push this until they pull their building permits is because things can change, conditions can change, and it may be state law, whatever it may be, that changes in that time period, that they can make a decision that this works for us and it pencils, and we can actually make it work for the project and the community. But as it is, and I think we may have said this before, it's hard for people to come in and build equity in a for-sale affordable project. And we feel like we're doing a service in some projects, not all projects, but some projects, it's doing a service to actually contribute that fee that gets passed on to a builder who can build an affordable project and provide those units in the housing market. But what we can say is that this project brings density to the city, and the more density that we bring into the city, the more product that's put out there, the more the housing market expands in San Marcos, the more units that are available in San Marcos, it will start to, it's market conditions, right? It should start to bring those prices down. So hopefully contributing more units to the market will help in that regard. One other thing, I think if you were to rent these units, they rent for about $4,000 a month. And then if you turn around and look at the cost to buy the unit, it'd be about $4,400 a month. So there's a very small nexus there as far as affordability is concerned in these types of units. But the type of unit itself is geared towards that first-time home buyer. In the market, you know, there's situations where you're not under control and the market is what the market is, but this type of product itself lends itself to being that first-time home buyer product, step down, that type of product.
So in terms of the actual decision for the applicant to make whether or not you will actually build a low-income component as part of the project, what are some of the considerations that you're going to be looking at?
Labor costs, market considerations, market costs, what it costs to carry the land. There's all these different factors that are involved, and it has to make financial sense for the builder. And there's also a human element, right? Like I mentioned, the for sale product, somebody can't build equity on that, so they're stuck. They can be in that product or that home or that condo for 50 years, and then they sell that, and they're out. They don't gain anything. Whereas a for rent product makes sense. You can actually afford to give the 15% in a for rent product, and the people aren't out anything. So in a for sale product, they're going to pay the $4,400 a month in a mortgage or whatever it may be, and at the end of that, they don't get anything out of it. So it makes a little bit more sense in my mind that we don't offer that at this point, that they get to pay the in lieu fee or whatever it may be. Again, I said that market conditions can change their mind. It may be that by the time we get to pulling building permits, somehow, some way, cost of materials have plummeted, and it makes sense, and they can afford that, and they can provide that 15%. So, you know, there's a variety of considerations that go into this.
I'm going to jump in here real quick. I actually want to address that. We've actually had for sale projects that have incorporated affordable units when they're for sale, and it hasn't worked very well, just saying.
Okay, and thank you for stepping in. So
Yeah.
I do have a follow-up question to that, and that is, and certainly I'm open to the further discussion. The follow-up question that I have, so given the applicant's experience and extensive standings, it sounds like throughout the region, the applicant is not prepared to make that decision, not able to make that decision as of now.
I think that's correct. And you know, I'd like to say that they're just going with the city policy, which allows them either option.
I understand, but my question is directly of the applicant, what they're able to do and not do as of now, given the circumstances, given the condition, given the experience. And I do have another question about density. One of the things that struck me in looking back at the minutes of the Planning Commission and what was considered, there's an issue that came up with the commissioners about the density itself. And in looking at the staff's response, there's a sentence here that says, if the project waited a few years for the general plan update, the site could allow up to 45 dwelling units per acre. So my question for the applicant and staff, is this project coming to us prematurely? Is there the potential for increased density?
Well, the 45 dwelling units an acre was based on a proposed land use designation under the general plan update. So there's a schedule and timeline associated with that. So it's really up to the applicant's prerogative whether whether they want to wait, and if that ever comes to fruition, because it was just a draft plan. So and then on top of that, the applicant is proposing a specific plan, so they had the opportunity in their analysis to designate the density on that property. So again, I'll let Jason speak to this, but the approximate 15 dwelling units per acre is likely based on a product type and a market that the developer feels will be marketable in today's day and age.
I think Joe's correct. It's the uncertainty of when the zoning will change and the length of time when that may happen. And he's correct. The product type is kind of driving what can fit on this site and what works with your open space requirements and your circulation, your streets, your fire access, and all that. And also considering the existing infrastructures that CVS built, we wanted to be mindful that we're not shaking the tree too much with them. We want to be careful and respectful.
So then I have a follow-up question, since you mentioned CBS. Did they express concerns about the existing proposed density?
We haven't heard any specific comments from CVS about the density.
Okay, that's what I have right now. Thank you.
Okay, and I might just jump in on that. So I just want to address that. So there was a project, and you probably, I don't think you were on the council then. There was a Hallmark project that was a residential project. I'm pretty sure that the deed restricted affordable units on that, there was actually one, because someone told me this story, they actually ended up being the person that found it, that was able to qualify. They're very, very difficult to qualify for, and there was a house that sat there for over 2 years. I honestly think it was more like almost 3 years. And the problem is, in a situation like that, it's very hard to maintain it and hold on to it. And I actually had people that lived on that same street complaining that there was no landscaping in the backyard and it was an attractive nuisance. And I don't know. I'm very, I would be very concerned if you were to make this a project where you wouldn't pay the in lieu fee. The other opportunity or the other option with an in lieu fee is it would help us put together more money for a bigger project at some point in time. So for me, I probably wouldn't want them to wait and do such a thing. And I have more comments and questions, but I wanted to address that immediately. Did you want to go, Deputy Mayor?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Let's see here. There was the comments, and it's in the documents about the transit incentive. So, and that the HOA will be giving those incentives out. Are those incentives forever? Because
I think it's part of the transit. What do we call that? The transit.
The TDM, the transit. Yeah.
Demand management.
Yeah, that's a requirement of the climate action plan, and so I think the HOA is going to have to offer that to the residents in perpetuity.
Okay, and what is that? Is it a pass? Is it what if the HOA buys 100 passes for a year and nobody uses them? I mean, maybe that's down in the weeds, but I'm just wondering how that works in today's world.
I think since the climate action plan's been introduced, I'm not sure of any projects that have been built and then
Right.
actually implemented a TDM. But I would think that the HOA would purchase those discounted passes, or at least offer to the residents, whoever wanted it, you can get a discounted transit pass. And if they take it up, then the HOA's got to provide it too.
Okay, so the developer will be building something into the HOA requirements
Yes.
that eventually a property manager is going to enforce.
Correct. And I
So how
think-
do we know if that gets enforced?
I believe, and maybe this is a question for staff, but the TDM's got to be filed with the city.
Okay.
And there's got to be some kind of follow-up action.
It is, so they'll have the CCNRs as attachments to the CCNRs. The TDM will be part of that, as well as a parking management plan for just the on-site parking, other documents. So it's part of the CCNRs, and it's all filed with us. The TDM is filed with us.
So
So
this-
it's a condition of approval.
Okay, so it'll be in the CCNRs forever on each property versus an HOA type regulation. But the HOA is going to enforce it.
I'll jump in.
This
Yes,
is
this is sort of
new
the challenge of
territory.
the
Yeah,
new
this is-
world.
yeah, exactly.
Because
That's what
it
I'm
is in
saying.
perpetuity, and so the city will, as we're moving forward and improving projects like this, under this climate regimen and these plans, we'll have to figure out ways to monitor to make sure that an HOA or whatever organization within a specific project is doing what they're supposed to be doing to meet that measure of the climate action plan. Now, whether it's 100 or 50, whatever the
Right.
passes are, whether people actually use them is not something we're going to monitor, but what we will monitor is that they're available for the residents of the
Okay.
neighborhood to use. That's the measure that they're required to do.
Okay. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be, I'm just wondering, how is that ever going to
We
work?
will likely only hear about it if a resident reads their CCNRs, reads the TDM,
True.
and then requests it and is denied, then we'll hear about it.
Okay.
That's generally how it works.
Okay. And then you mentioned in the presentation about private open space. I'm guessing those are balconies, patios, some designated area attached to each home.
Correct, yeah. Each
Okay.
unit will have some form of private open space, be it a deck, a balcony, or a patio,
Okay.
for their
And-
personal private use.
Okay. And then, let me see here. Oh, I was curious, you're doing all 2 and 3 bedrooms, not smaller units, which would be more, I don't want to use the word affordable, but more easier for somebody to purchase. So is the thinking changing that you need more of the larger units? I think it's good that there's 93 bedroom units.
I think this is more targeted toward younger families.
Okay.
People that are trying to establish families, so they want more than just one bedroom.
Right. Okay. And then I know it says in here that there are 2-car garages. The single doors that we saw on the renderings, I'm assuming those are tandems?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And let me see. I think that might be it. I kind of like that it's not going to be commercial, because then it is 11 times more vehicular traffic. I think that's all the questions I have right now.
Okay. Well, I, for one, really think this is a definition of transit-oriented development, which, we've been talking about for years, being able to find opportunities for people to be able to be close to the walking trail, the inland rail trails right there, which makes me come to a couple of thoughts in my mind. I did notice on the renderings in the garages that almost all of them have storage space. The only one is the one that maybe there's not storage space. but there's a waste area. I know this is kind of getting in the weeds, but it would be very important, I think, to know whether people would be able to use their bicycle or put their bicycles on their balconies if they're screened from view. Because, I mean, when you talk about, you know, trying to have different options, bicycles is part of that. And again, you know, you go right down Las Posas and the inland rail trails right there. And then also, you know, jumping on transit, which is also right there too. So I don't know if you can answer that, and maybe you might not be able to, but it would be good to maybe be open to that. I guess I'll just throw that out there. You know, again, there is the storage in almost all of the garages, just maybe not that one. So if there would be a possibility of that, you might think about that, just for success.
Sure, we'll consider it.
And then also on the parking management plan, are you planning on having windows in the garages so that you would be able to make sure you don't have any issues? We haven't run into this recently, but I know that over by the university, and this is right near Palomar College, that they did have an issue. There was one development that did not have windows, and having a robust homeowners association is a very important part of it. So I'm not sure if there are going to be windows so that you would be able to see inside the garages to make sure that you're able to enforce that in the proper way. Do you happen to know, or just maybe you know the HOA is going to be able to do that?
Yeah, Mayor Jones, there's
Yes.
actually a condition of approval that requires windows on the garages.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, good. I didn't see that. I like the fact that it's going to be 9,700 less trips. I think I might have already said that, but I really can't express that enough. The missing middle, I think, is more like our firefighters, our law enforcement, teachers, and, you know, the fact that it's right next to Palomar College, I think is also a great opportunity for, you know, a lot of the staff there at Palomar College. Then also, I personally wouldn't want it to be more dense. I wouldn't want over 300 units to be right there, placed there. I don't think that would make sense. And, you know, back to the point that I made a little bit earlier, I've been around for a while. They used to say that it's long in the tooth. I guess I'm now long in the tooth. But, you know, when we've had projects where things are for sale, I don't think that it always works out. And like I said, I made that one comment about the property that was the Hallmark project. And I remember talking to the developer on several occasions saying, you know, there are people on the street that are complaining that the landscaping's not finished in the backyard and it's unsightly from their house. And, you know, it just couldn't sell. It was sitting there for quite some time, so I wouldn't want that. And then, let's see, what else? Parking management, I went through that. Missing middle, yes. I actually think that might be it, because a few of the other things, actually, Deputy Mayor, you brought up some things that I was thinking, so I don't have to go through all those notes. So, any other discussion, questions, comments? Question, yes, council member.
For staff, it
Okay.
was mentioned, and I know it's coming up before the planning commission, the city slope easement, is that the portion of the land at grade that runs from the point of ingress at Palm North up to that point of apex, I guess, where the property line ends?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so the decision will be before the planning commission to remove our easement rights to that property?
Yes, so it will be first brought forth to Planning Commission, and then if they approve the recommendation to City Council. So City Council would be the second hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other, yes, Mrs. Peak.
My apologies, Madam Mayor, but with respect to the proposed resolutions, on the EIR resolution number 2023-9158, it's properly agendized, but the resolution itself is some sort of missing the ending phrase to finding G. It talks about the City Council hereby certifies a final EIR. I would request, if the council is considering approval of the project and the resolutions, that we add to the end of that sentence in G on page 3 of 31, which is agenda item in page number 18.90. At the end of G, adding "and adopts the findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations attached hereto as Exhibit A." My apologies, but it may seem obvious, but I'm kind of Captain Obvious when it comes to resolutions with statements of overriding consideration, so.
All right, thank you, Ms. Speak, for that. I would make a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public comment, or public hearing is closed. Oh, it's not even that late. I don't know why I feel so tired. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the project?
Move to approve, and also with the notation that the city attorney provided to staff to add on to the.
The additions to item G?
To item G
per
for the final document.
Okay, all right.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Acceptable.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, sorry. Do you have a question?
I just wanted to ask, do you want to clarify if there were any public comments or not? Do we
Oh,
need
there
to do
weren't any
that?
public comments,
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes?
I really like this project. I like the site. I really wish there was an affordable low-income component to it, considering the proximity to really to transit and to Palomar College. And so for that reason, I'm going to vote no today on it.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, then we actually have item C. Okay, this is the first time we've done this, so. The general plan amendment, description of action, vote to approve general plan amendments on both projects, action, approve proceeding conditional approval of the general plan amendments. I understand there will be no staff presentation because each proposed amendment has been the subject of a presentation and a comment. So I'd like to open the public hearing. And do we have any comments on this item? No. Okay, any further discussion from the city council?
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Second.
All right, motion to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Okay, then also, do we have a motion to recommend the approved resolution 2023-9150?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on. I got now find my agenda. It's somewhere here. Thank you for all hanging in there with us. It's the first time we've done it that way, so that's a first time. I think nobody got hurt. That's good. Any oral communications for our second discussion? No.
No, Madam Mayor.
Wow, now my feelings are hurt. Everyone's leaving. I'm just kidding. Okay, reports, 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you, staff, for hanging in there with us. Well, no, it's just weird. The council commentary is before, and the adjournment before the actual reports. So we're out of order, but I know I know how to run a meeting. Thank you very much. So we are going to go to item number 19, which is Sandag. We had a meeting last week. The most prominent discussion was on the road user charge and the removal of it. Even though many of our board members have been saying that it's been gone since December of 2021, not true. So we did move that forward for public comment. It will be back to the board roughly October, and then we will, it'll be back for a final vote in October. Then it's predicted to go to the state of California in November, I think it is, for a final approval, and one of the board members brought up a very interesting thing, that it was 0.02% off of the actual target of 19% reduction in greenhouse gas reduction, which was kind of an interesting comment. And then moving forward, our next meeting, and there were a few other things, nothing too earth-shattering. And then the next meeting will be the 14th of July, and we will be talking about the funding of the 2025 update of the 2021 plan, which I know that sounds very confusing, but what that actually means is it's a 21 plan that is living and moving forward, even though we're making a change to it right now. So it's very different that we're doing it like this. That you already have the update happening, and then you're making a change to, and the thing that actually gave me the most heartburn about that whole thing was I voted no because I didn't believe in charging people to drive on the roads. Now we're paying $1.5 million of your taxpayer money to make this change when many of us, 8 of us actually out of 19 agencies, originally voted no, that we didn't want a road user charge in it, and now we're spending $1.5 million of your money. So I had a problem with that. Anything that I missed, Councilmember Musgrove? You were at that meeting?
I think you covered it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is item number 20, League of California Cities. Councilmember Musgrove.
I think we'll probably bifurcate this between myself and Councilmember Nunez. So-
Bifurcate?
Yes. So I'll start with my portion of it. I am the county's representative for the Public Safety Commission for the League of California Cities, and we met in Pomona last week for 4 hours. It was a lovely drive up and back. I spent more time on the road than I did at the meeting, and it was essentially a briefing from the Homeless Outreach Services team headed by a captain with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, and he had some of his staff there, lieutenants, captains, and a deputy, and they went into quite a bit of detail about how they manage the process. And if you can envision what the city of San Diego has right now with 2,000 homeless people, just exponentially increasing that to 5 figures with the LA Sheriff patrols a significant amount of the County of Los Angeles. They've gone away from a hard enforcement to partnering up with different social services to come out there, start dialogue, get to know the people, find out how they came to be where they are, where they originated, and finding them someplace other than a curb or a public park to live. And they've had a great amount of success getting people relocated, not putting them in jail, getting them services to, if they have mental health issues, drugs, combinations, or just economic reasons, to getting them back on their feet and clearing out the public spaces, which is the ultimate goal, but not doing it at the expense of the people that are living out there on the streets. It was very, very informative. I have the contact information. I'm going to do some follow-up with the captain and try and get his presentation and maybe share that with our staff on our council. Very, very good.
You should have ridden the train to go up there. I don't know why you didn't do that. Just saying.
Because it doesn't go where I was going, Mayor.
Oh, actually, I forgot. The Bluffs, actually, the Los San corridor is not working right now. Sorry, forgot about that. Councilmember Nunez.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council Member. I was in Pomona on Friday for the Community Services Committee. It sounds like your presentation was a lot more informative than probably what we received. So I'm definitely interested in that presentation, looking to see what they're doing. It sounds like we could definitely take some tips from what they've implemented. Really, we got a legislative update, and a lot of our discussion was about housing, the housing issues that we're all facing, and I think, at least from my perspective, it looked like the league is trying to put together already the priorities for next year.
Right.
And then we do have the annual conference that's scheduled for September.
September 21st.
That's right, that's coming up.
2021, 22.
Yes.
Okay, North County Transit District. And do you have an update on the Los San corridor? I forgot about that.
It's not
good?
It's not good right now. They're working on it.
Okay, and that's in San Clemente. That's
Yes.
close. Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
Okay, so I have a few things to make sure I share. We did approve our operating budget, which is about $185.5 million. I think I've mentioned in the past, we are in the process of bringing back some services that were previously contracted out over, more than 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago or more. We're bringing back in this first phase maintenance of way, maintenance of signals, facilities, maintenance employees. And then in the future, we'll be bringing back our drivers. So phase 1 is happening and is included in the 2024 operating budget. As far as the capital budget, and I don't have that number with me, but we are using the funding this coming year to enhance our wayfinding improvements, positive train control upgrades, Sprinter vehicle overhauls, Sprinter signal modernization. So we have a hefty capital projects going on. We also approved the sale of 5 bi-level rail cars that are at the end of their useful life. They probably have used them past the end of their useful life. We also are selling 2 of our new Siemens Charger locomotives. We have enough locomotives to support what we need for the current coaster service. Because our Transnet funding is decreasing, that's going to affect our future phase 2 of the coaster service. So we have 2 locomotives we don't need. And then a couple things on funding. We have our Lagoon Double Track project. We received $103 million in funding, and that will fully fund the project. It will replace an 80-year-old bridge and add 0.6 miles of double tracking. And we also received $100 million for the San Diego double track project. And we've submitted an application for the remaining $130 million that's needed for that project. That bridge is 107 years old.
Wow. Wow.
And will add 0.9 miles of double track. Then we just had an announcement this week where we've received $29.3 million, and that will purchase 23 zero-emission hydrogen buses. And that will bring our fleet, let me get the numbers right. We already received funding for 6 battery electric buses and 12 hydrogen buses. So after this next procurement, we'll have 23 hydrogen buses and 41 zero-emission buses in operation by 2025. So over a quarter of our 152 bus fleet will be done, and our goal is to get to zero emission by 2042.
I'm guessing that's also going to include hydrogen infrastructure, because in the county,
Right.
there's
It's
only
a
one
bit-
place.
The infrastructure is the issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So they're working on that too.
Because,
Yeah, that's the big issue. They want these buses to be used, but the infrastructure isn't there yet. So we're working on that.
Yeah, there's only one place in all of San Diego County that has a hydrogen, and I think it's in Del Mar or something like that.
don't know.
I actually had a resident reach out to me saying, hey, you know what? It would be great to have some infrastructure in the city, because I bought a hydrogen car and I have nowhere. I have to go all the way, I think she said Del Mar, to charge it. And I went, I would have checked that out before I bought that car for myself. But anyway, okay.
Lots happening.
Okay, North County Dispatch Joint Powers Authority, Councilmember Nunez.
Thank you, Mayor. No report at this time. Our next meeting is August 23rd.
Okay, Clean Energy Alliance, Councilmember Musgrove.
We meet this Thursday.
Okay, City Council business visits. Did anyone go on one?
Mike and I had one. Do you want to start, Mike?
Oh, are you bifurcating? No, I'm just kidding. I only use that because that's what you said. It's funny.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jenkins and I, and Amanda and Tess, we actually had the pleasure of visiting, and I hope I say this right, correct me if I'm wrong, Tess, Parabilis, Space Technologies, which is was a bit of, I think, a surprise to all of us that we actually have a space technology company in San Marcos. But it was extremely exciting, and we met with the CEO, David, there, and we learned a lot about what they're doing and some of their future plans. Parabilis derives from the Latin word, the Latin root for affordable. So they try to do things that are kind of more smaller scale and more affordable. And they've been headquartered in San Marcos with all their engineering and design stuff for quite some time. They have 14 employees. They started, the core group started at General Dynamics in 1996.
Bathroom sign, sorry.
What's that?
Sorry, I'm laughing about the bathroom sign, that's awesome.
I didn't even see it. Oh, I didn't.
It's got the alien.
That's a great photo by Amanda because I didn't even notice that yesterday. Did you notice that, Sharon?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they love San Marcos. They want to continue to do business in San Marcos. They enjoy going to all of our breweries and our dining options. Like I mentioned earlier, they have 14 employees currently. However, they have plans to they want to grow to 180 to 200 employees. Most of their employees do live in North County, some in San Marcos, not all of them. They have some folks in Carlsbad and I think they said Valley Center. Their most well-known achievement is creating Virgin Galactic Spaceship One's propulsion system. And that's like super impressive considering that they're here in our own community. So they continue to do work with that. Their propulsion systems that they manufacture there are all clean energy, very safe. They're designed so they're not explosive. So that's why they were chosen. And for Spaceship One is that when the spaceship actually leaves the mothership, if you will, I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but the Spaceship One's taken up on a larger aircraft, it's dropped, and then the rocket engines will ignite from there, and then it'll take it the rest of the way up into space. And those rocket engines were chosen in part because they're very safe, they won't explode. And so even if I think what David said was the worst thing that could happen is it doesn't ignite. And if it doesn't ignite, then it would do what it's going to do anyways at the end of the trip, and it's just going to glide back to Earth and land. And so that's why they were chosen. I don't want to take everything, Sharon, but are you ready to jump in, or okay? Yeah, no, super exciting.
This was amazing. Their clients are just fabulous. So basically, they design these small satellites and the propulsion. They fuel them with a combination of, this is probably more my thing than mine, but a combination of rubber and nitrous oxide. And everything is safe. The fire department's been out there. They had nothing but great things to say. The employer about our fire department. And then they've been starting to use some 3D printing to manufacture some parts. They also are, their goal is to lower the cost of what is done, because as some organizations will take longer to do things, and it may cost millions of dollars, and they can do it quicker and cheaper. While they are local, they're testing sites in Lakeside, and they are hoping to get up into North County. So Tess will be helping them with that. Their testing facility, we saw some videos of that. It's pretty amazing. They're totally certified through local, county, state, and federal. They're a great company to have here. Most of their employees are higher paid employees, and they're just really excited to be in San Marcos. And then Tess is also going to connect them with some possibilities for them at Cal State. So he was pleased that we came with some opportunities for them to make some good connections.
Both Cal State San Marcos as well as the San Diego North EDC.
That's right.
Yep.
Yes.
And they do a lot of internships through UCSD and SDSU currently, and so they're looking for opportunities to engage with San Marcos.
You would never have guessed that that is here in San Marcos.
Well, that's really cool. I actually wanted to go back one picture I had a question about. Is that frozen, the thing on the right, the far right? Is it frozen because it's so cold?
No.
No?
I didn't get, they didn't go into
If you
that.
look at it bigger, it's like,
Yeah.
it looks like it's a frozen thing.
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know.
They
Look
didn't-
at how
yeah, they didn't
cool it
spec-
looks.
They didn't specifically talk about that particular
Oh.
unit, but I don't think that anything that they do was based off of anything that was frozen.
Oh, I was actually thinking more like it's rated for the elements, and so they try to freeze it to make sure it's gonna like
didn't go
perform
over that.
well, I guess.
I'm
Well,
not
you know, we do have
I'm
that.
not a rocket scientist.
Me either. But there is a company in our city that does all the coatings on all of the. Who went on that business visit
I
with
did.
me? That was a really cool business too. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, the coating on all the circuit boards.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, San Marcos Creek project.
Thank
Jack
you, Madam
Griffin.
Mayor. Not a lot of news compared to the last meeting. Work on the bridge continues. Railings and the pedestrian lighting. You can see the railings going up, and so the pedestrian lighting being installed on the bridge. The stone wall along Discovery is continuing, and that'll continue for a few more weeks. Still dealing with some SDG&E issues on the undergrounding of the remaining overheads along Via Veracruz. It's creating some issues still, as we discussed at the last meeting. Within the habitat area, as a picture there, a lot of the planting is in, and irrigation is being established, and that will continue for quite a bit more time. And then lastly, all the park irrigation is going in so that we can get the surface improvements for the park part going very soon.
So I have a quick question, and maybe you know it, maybe you don't know the answer, but it used to be when we would go do cleanup events down in the creek, people would throw things in the creek. How are we gonna make sure they don't do that in the future? Are we making it inaccessible? Because the creek is beautiful, yes, we want people to enjoy it from the pop-outs and from the trails, not down in there. We want them to stay out of the beautiful habitat and where the critters and the flora is growing.
Well, the creek itself will be the creek. It'll be more accessible near the creek because it'll have a trail network along it. So it'll be an issue that we'll just have to deal with as it happens. I don't think there's a way to tell you that I could tell you that it'll never happen.
We're gonna
People
remind,
do litter, so.
oh, yeah, we don't want that, so we need to make sure we have plenty of trash cans and reminders that we don't want people to go down in there. Okay, council commentary.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate
Yes.
the opportunity to bring this up. I learned tonight that the San Marcos Youth Baseball Association was charged, $3,000 for, I think they contracted with the San Diego Sheriff's Department. And because I just learned that tonight, I wanted to have a greater conversation about that. I know we can't have that in this forum under this item, but I would like to ask staff to provide a written memo to the entire council to cover how did we get to that point, what took place, and I'm bothered by it, to be honest with you, because I feel like this was such a major incident in our community that had a bunch of our residents concerned and for their kids' safety and for their own. I know that with my wife being in the school system, that a lot of the kids that were going to school the next day and the following days after, they were jolted by it. So I think it's fairly reasonable to think that we would have a focal point on that park while the investigation was continuing, just to make sure that everybody was safe, but also give the community a sense of extra protection and vigilance in a situation like that. And I don't think, and again, I don't know all the circumstances because I just learned about this tonight, but I don't think that we should be charging our youth sports leagues for those, for that extra coverage to give our community that comfort. Having said that, I do want to stress that all of the feedback that I've heard from residents since this incident, the initial response by our local San Marcos deputies was phenomenal. It was quick, and it was robust, and I really appreciate everything that they did. But I would like a memo to the entire council about what took place after that, and how did we get to the point where our youth sports association was being charged $3,000. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I saw Mrs. Peak down there. We're maybe going a little too far in the weeds on that. Okay, any other commentary? 4th of July is coming up. You know what that means.
I do.
What?
Took great advantage of our transit system. If you download the Pronto app onto your phone, you can use that to pay for bus trips and train and trolley trips. We were able to drive to the Oceanside Transit Center, and for the $20 fee for admission, ride the coaster to the Solana Beach Station, where they had a shuttle bus that took us right to the West Gate. So for the price of admission, you get a free ride down there. You don't have to deal with the traffic, the hassles, the parking, and the West Gate takes you right into the Midway area. Spend a few hours there with family and right back up. It was a fantastic opportunity, and that was for a round trip.
Okay, great. All right, 4th of July fireworks are coming up. I understand we're right around $10,000 short. I hope all of my colleagues on the council have already donated, including staff. I'm looking at all of you, just kidding. Anyway, that's coming up 4th of July, obviously. Anyway, our website, if you go to the city website, our social media, you can find a way to donate. It's always been, well, I don't know about always, but since I've been on the council, which is, this is my 17th year, it has been 100% by taxpayers or residents and business owners donating. We don't use your taxpayer dollars for that, so it's a good thing. Anyway, I wanted to make sure that everyone helps. We definitely want to have those fireworks this year. And then I also wanted to remind the member of our public, Mr. Garachi, that our captain is here to educate you on what happened at Mission Sports Park, and he would love to have a discussion with you and bring you up to speed on that. Anyway, with that, any other, yes?
Yes, one more. I just want to compliment staff on creating the process that we had to go through for the general plan amendments, because I know that was cumbersome, but the good thing is our applicants can continue to move forward, and so it was, I think, well done. So thank you.
And we made it through.
Yes.
Without any major, right? No faux pas? We did good, Helen? She's always if I look down there and she's not going like that, like we're doing something we're not supposed to be doing, I feel like it probably went well. Yes, Councilmember Nunez, you had something to add?
Yes, I want to remind our residents that we have our monthly hike, city hike, this coming Saturday. We have our summertime, so it's starting at 8 in the morning, 8 to 11. And we're going to be hiking Discovery Hills. So the meeting location is Lakeview Park at 655 Foxhall Drive. And so hopefully everybody can make it, and I hope it's not too warm.
I was going to say it's probably going to be hotter than it has been as of late. Mm-hmm. So make sure you bring your water so that you're hydrated.
Yes.
Okay. All right. With that, this meeting is adjourned.
I have one question. On line 12 that we printed. Yeah. We printed this.